Chapter 24:18. Bam! 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 All the experts of the Shui clan were sent flying at the same time. They all crashed into the main gate of the Shui clan, groaning in pain. The experts of this lineage looked at Lin Tian, and for a moment, all of their faces turned slightly pale. Among them, there were 9 grand elders, all of whom were at the peak of the heaven stage. The head of the Shui clan was at the middle heaven stage, and the rest of the elders were at the peak of the lesser heaven stage. How terrifying was the combined attack of such a group of people. However, they were all knocked back by Lin Tian's aura, and each of them was seriously injured. What kind of battle prowess was this? He's so strong. Ruoxian's eyes lit up. Although she had long known that her father was very powerful, she still couldn't help but be shocked by this scene. With the Dao reversing divine sword pointed at his forehead, the patriarch of the Shui clan took the opportunity to retreat while Lin Tian pushed the head of the Shui clan and the others away. He was so fast that he retreated into the Shui clan in the blink of an eye, bringing the head of the Shui clan and the others with him. Junior, in the Shui clan, the patriarch of the Shui clan looked at Lin Tian with a gloomy face. For a moment just now, he was suppressed by Lin Tian, and he had a feeling that he couldn't compete with him. This made him very uncomfortable. After all, he was at the early stage of the greater heaven stage, while Lin Tian was at the early stage of the heaven stage. He was a stage higher than Lin Tian. Under such circumstances, he actually had such a feeling when facing Lin Tian just now. This made him angry and shocked at the same time. The faces of the other experts of the Shui clan were also gloomy. The Shui clan had been established in this world for countless years. In the 6th dimension, only the 6 top orthodoxies could suppress them. However, now a heaven stage cultivator from a lower world had actually forced them to retreat into the main gate of the Shui clan. This was a disgrace. When had the Shui clan ever been humiliated like this? Lin Tian held the Dao defying divine sword in his hand and looked coldly at the Shui family patriarch and the others who had retreated into the Shui family. He knew what these people were thinking. It was none other than the Shui family's defensive killing formation and Khanate level treasures. Once they stepped into the Shui family would be a natural battlefield for the Shui family. He didn't say anything. He carried the Dao defying divine sword and walked straight into the Shui family. Lingyan followed behind him and stepped in together. Ruoxian held little Lingjing's hand while Wu Yi, Jiyu, and the others stepped into the Shui residence together. The Shui clan patriarch's face darkened. They retreated into the Shui clan. The Shui clan was protected by a peak innate level protective matrix and a treasure weapon. The Shui clan was the best place for them to fight. But now Lin Tian had stepped in directly. Junior, you sure are arrogant, the Shui clan patriarch said coldly. He didn't believe that Lin Tian didn't know that there was a powerful defensive formation in the Shui clan. He was sure that Lin Tian could have guessed it. But even so, Lin Tian stepped in directly at this time without any hesitation. He didn't put the Shui clan in his eyes at all. He stared coldly at Lin Tian. With a thought, endless killing patterns appeared in the Shui clan. Boom! Monstrous killing intent surged. He immediately activated the Shui clan's defensive killing formation. At the same time, a seal flew out from the depths of the Shui clan, emitting a blazing holy light. Khanate level killing formation. Khanate level seal. Anyone below the peak innate level who dares to barge into the Shui clan must die, he said coldly. As he finished speaking, as if to show his majesty, the endless killing formation boiled, emitting an even more terrifying murderous aura. At the same time, the Khanate level seal also emitted an immortal light. The majestic Khanate aura suppressed all directions. When such an aura appeared, Jiyu, Baiqiu, and the others couldn't help but be shocked. Such an aura was truly terrifying. However, they didn't care or fear it at all because they knew how powerful Lin Tian was now. This level of killing formation and seal couldn't suppress Lin Tian now. Even a 6th-dimensional realm expert was no threat to Lin Tian now. Lin Tian held the Dao defying divine sword, his eyes indifferent. In his hand, the Dao defying divine sword vibrated. Strands of special light intertwined from his body and attached to the divine sword. Then, without any unnecessary movements, he raised his hand and slashed with the sword. Clang! Following an ear-piercing sword hum, the boundless killing patterns trembled violently and shattered with a sizzling sound. At the same time, the Khanate level seal trembled violently and was swept thousands of feet away with a bang. It landed in the depths of the Shui clan's mountain range and shattered a large mountain range. Such a scene made the patriarch of the Shui clan and the others tremble violently. Their expressions changed drastically. That was the Guardian Slaughter formation and the divine artifact of their clan. When combined together, its might was sufficient to suppress anyone below the peak of the congenital realm. Yet now, it was actually so easily slashed apart by Lin Tian and blasted flying the divine artifact. Lin Tian held the Dao, defying divine sword, and pressed toward the patriarch of the Shui clan and the others. Now, do you think I'm strong enough? The combination of the Shui clan's grand spell formation and their divine weapon was indeed very powerful. He wouldn't be able to withstand it if he relied on his own battle prowess. After all, he was only at the early heaven stage. However, there was a real three-dimensional world in his body. Just now, he had mobilized the power of heaven and earth of the three-dimensional world and attached it to the Dao defying divine sword. In this way, he had defeated everything with a single slash. Facing Lin Tian, the patriarch of the Shui clan, and the others couldn't help but tremble. They became even more furious and couldn't help but step back. The patriarch of the Shui clan gritted his teeth. After a short pause, he seemed to have thrown caution to the wind and said in a cold voice, "Junior, you'll have to pay the price." As soon as the words left his mouth, an ancient token appeared in his hand. He shook the ancient token, instantly activating a small formation on it, and a portal appeared. This ancient token was given to the first Grand Elder of the Blissful Island by the previous patriarch of the Shui clan because he had done the first Grand Elder of the Blissful Island a great favor. The first Grand Elder of the Blissful Island had promised the previous patriarch that if the Shui clan was in trouble, he could activate the teleportation formation on the ancient token, and he would be able to come to the Shui clan's aid in an instant. The first Grand Elder of the Blissful Island was infinitely close to the sixth-dimensional realm, and there were few who could match him in the sixth-dimensional realm. It could be said that this ancient token was the Shui clan's greatest trump card, and now it was on display. Buzz! The space portal opened horizontally, interweaving with dazzling divine light. Then, in the next moment, an elder stepped out. The old man was wearing a silver robe, and his essence, chi, and spirit were extremely vigorous. Naturally, the pressure he emitted was shockingly strong. Seniors, the Shui clan's patriarch immediately greeted him. Although he was also a Xiantian realm expert, he was extremely respectful towards this old man. This was because this old man was at the peak of the Xiantian realm, and he was the first Grand Elder of the Blissful Island. The Blissful Island was one of the top 6 orthodoxies in the sixth-dimensional realm, so this old man's status could be said to be extremely high. The Shui clan's patriarch and the other Grand Elders of the Shui clan also stepped forward and bowed. They all knew about the ancient token. The rest of the Shui clan didn't know about the token, but they naturally recognized the silver-robed old man and knew his identity. In addition, all the important figures of the Shui clan were bowing, so they also hurriedly bowed and greeted him. The silver-robed old man looked at the Shui clan's patriarch and said calmly, "I owe the Shui clan a favor. This time, you called me here to help the Shui clan, and we are even." Then he said, "Tell me, what kind of trouble do you need me to solve?" "Senior, thank you for coming here to help." The Shui clan's patriarch bowed again, then pointed at Lin Tian and said to the silver-robed old man, "This child has trespassed into the Shui clan. Senior, please suppress him and the people who came with him." Originally, on this day, as long as he agreed to Ling Jinger and Ling Yun's marriage, he believed that Lin Tian would stop and make peace with the Shui clan. He didn't need to waste the ancient token, which was the Shui clan's biggest trump card. However, he didn't want to choose the former because it was too embarrassing. If he gave in, where would the Shui clan's face go? Therefore, He directly took out the ancient token and called for the silver-robed old man's help. The silver-robed old man was the first grand elder of the blissful island, and he was infinitely close to the sixth-dimensional realm. He believed that he could definitely suppress Lin Tian. The silver-robed old man glanced at the Shui clan's patriarch indifferently, then looked at Lin Tian, who the Shui clan's patriarch was pointing at. "It's him." As he spoke, his expression suddenly changed as he saw Lin Tian's face clearly. "It's you." Lin Tian looked at the silver-robed old man and sneered. What a coincidence, right? He recognized the silver-robed old man as soon as he appeared. Back in the three-dimensional world, when he used the Tao of reincarnation, the silver-robed old man tried to kill him. At the same time, there were other powerful cultivators from the blissful island, the Pei clan, the Chaotic Sky Sword Pavilion, the Sancian sect, the Vast Moon Divine sect, and the Heartless Hall. However, these people didn't have the slightest advantage at that time. This scene shocked the Shui clan's patriarch and the Shui clan's patriarch. "Senior, you know him?" he asked. The Shui clan's patriarch and the others also looked at the silver-robed old man. "I know him. Of course I know him." The silver-robed old man's eyes shone brightly. "Juniors of the Shui clan, you have made a great contribution this time." "Very good, very good, very good." Lin Tian was the person who controlled the Tao of reincarnation. When they were forced to leave the three-dimensional world, they had been searching for Lin Tian's whereabouts. Unfortunately, their efforts were to no avail. However, they didn't expect to see Lin Tian in the Shui clan's residence after being summoned by the Shui clan's patriarch. This was an unexpected surprise. Chapter 24:19. Boundless pressure surged out, suppressing all directions. The silver-robed elder sneered and closed in on Lin Tian. At this moment, looking at Lin Tian, he was really excited. He never thought that he would meet Lin Tian in the Shui family. In his eyes, Lin Tian represented reincarnation. How valuable was reincarnation? Infinitely valuable. It was a power that even the supreme beings of heaven and earth feared. "What do you mean? Make a great contribution?" "Senior." The ancestor of the Shui family was puzzled. The patriarch of the Shui family and the supreme elder of the Shui family also had strange expressions on their faces. At this moment, the silver-robed old man arrived in front of Lin Tian and raised his hand to grab Lin Tian. In the blink of an eye, the big hand with the pressure of a peak Xiantian realm expert fell in front of Lin Tian and sealed the space around Lin Tian, leaving no room for Lin Tian to dodge. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He raised the Tao-defying divine sword in his hand, and strands of light flowed out of his body and attached to the sword. He raised his hand and slashed down casually. The light that flowed out of his body and attached to the Tao-defying divine sword was the power of the three-dimensional world in his body. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing, and a sharp sword light burst out. Mixed with the power of the three-dimensional world, it was as if nothing could stand in its way. With a poof, the silver-robed old man's hand was instantly crushed. Immediately after, the sword light he slashed out didn't slow down at all. It continued to press forward and landed directly on the old man's body. With a poof, the old man was smashed into pieces. Blood splattered everywhere. During the whole process, there were no screams. The silver-robed old man's body exploded, and his soul was also shattered. His body and soul were destroyed. Following this scene, the entire Shui family fell into a dead silence. Everyone in the Shui family, including the Xiantian realm ancestor, was stunned. Then they all trembled. The first supreme elder of the blissful island, a powerhouse who was infinitely close to the sixth-dimensional realm, was killed by Lin Tian with a single strike. He didn't even have the chance to scream. How is this possible? Shui family's old ancestor's face turned pale as he looked at Lin Tian in shock and fear. Lin Tian is only at the early stage of the heaven realm. So how could he kill the silver-robed old man who was infinitely close to reaching the sixth-dimensional realm? How was that possible? Ling Yun's eyes flickered violently. Even though he knew of Lin Tian's background and knew that Lin Tian was very strong, he still couldn't help but be shocked when he saw Lin Tian, who was only at the early stage of the heaven stage, kill the silver-robed old man, who was at the peak of the Xiantian realm. Only Wu Yi and Ji Yu were not shocked. They knew that Lin Tian controlled a large part of the real heaven and earth. They knew that Lin Tian had used the power of a three-dimensional heaven and earth to kill the silver-robed old man who was infinitely close to the sixth-dimensional realm. Lin Tian tilted his head. Holding the Tao-defiant divine sword, his gaze once again fell on the Shui family patriarch. Now, what do you say? The silver-robed old man was from the blissful island, and he wanted to suppress Ling Yun and seize his reincarnation. Naturally, Ling Yun wouldn't show him any mercy and directly killed him. However, the Shui family was different. Shui Jinger was from the Shui family, and he came to propose marriage for Ling Yun. Naturally, he wouldn't kill the main members of the Shui family. Otherwise, how would Ling Yun face Shui Jinger in the future? The Shui family patriarch looked at Lin Tian with an ugly expression. In the end, he gritted his teeth and said to the Shui family patriarch, "Let Jinger out." They couldn't defeat Lin Tian. The protective formation of the Shui family patriarch was destroyed. The divine weapons were swept away, and the silver-robed old man who was infinitely close to reaching the sixth-dimensional realm was killed. What else could they do? How could they resist? The Shui family patriarch and the grand elders all had ugly expressions on their faces. The Shui family patriarch left personally and soon returned with a young woman. The young woman was wearing a long green dress. Her figure was slim and graceful, and her appearance was also very beautiful. However, she looked a little haggard, and there were traces of tears on her face. "Mother!" Little Ling Jing was being held by Ruoxian. Seeing the young woman walk out, he immediately cried out in surprise and pounced over. "Jing! Jing!" The young woman was naturally the holy maiden of the Shui family, Shui Jinger. Seeing little Ling Jing pouncing over, she was both surprised and delighted. She was brought out by the Shui family patriarch, but she wasn't told what happened here. Squatting down, she hugged little Ling Jing who had pounced over. While she was pleasantly surprised, she couldn't help but cry. This was her own flesh and blood. Originally, because of her family, she thought that she wouldn't be able to see her own flesh and blood for the rest of her life. She didn't expect to see her again so soon. Seeing Shui Jinga, Ling Yun was naturally excited. His body couldn't help but tremble as he walked over. "Jinger!" His voice was trembling. "Ling Yun!" Shui Jinger was also excited. Her eyes were filled with surprise, and all kinds of other emotions. The family of three hugged together in the Shui family. At this moment, no one in the Shui family dared to disturb them. Lin Tian couldn't help but smile when he saw Ling Yun's family reunited from afar. Then his gaze landed on Ling Yun. That lecherous fellow had tears in his eyes now. Thus, he could clearly feel how sincere and strong Ling Yun's love for Shui Jinger was. At the same time, from Shui Jinger's attitude towards Ling Yun and little Ling Jing, he could see that she loved Ling Yun and his son deeply. Ling Yun and Shui Jinger reunited. The family of three was excited and surprised. It was only after dozens of breaths that they calmed down. He pulled Shui Jinger to Lin Tianyi and the others and introduced Lin Tian, Wu Yi, and the others to Shui Jing. At the same time, he also told Shui Jinger that he had returned to the Shui family this time with Lin Tian's help to pick her up. "Big brother Lin, thank you." "Thank you." Shui Jinger thanked Lin Tiandao. "Ling Yun often mentioned you in the past. Ling Yun and I are brothers who have gone through thick and thin together. So, you're welcome," Lin Tian said with a smile. Shui Jinger was undoubtedly deeply in love with Ling Yun. Now that they were reunited, he was naturally happy for Ling Yun. Shui Jinger looked at Wu Yi and Ji Yu and thanked them one after another. She lowered her posture and was very polite. "Miss Jinger, you're welcome. We're not outsiders. It's best that you can reunite with Ling Yun and little Ling Jing." Wu Yi's voice was gentle. That's right. Ruoxian agreed. They were all smiling, but on the other side, the expressions of the Shui family members were not so good. Everyone, including the Shui family patriarch, had a gloomy expression, especially the Shui family patriarch. His face was the most ashen, and he clenched his fists tightly. Today, The Xue family had lost all face, and the cause of all this was his daughter. Father. Xue Jingnan naturally saw the Xue family patriarch's expression. I'm sorry, Father. Jingnan knows that you're angry, but Ling Yun and I are truly in love. Please grant us our wish, okay? The difference in cultivation level and region is really not important. Ling Yun is a good person. He saved Jinger's life before. Without him, Jinger would have died long ago. He will definitely treat Jinger and the child well. She looked at the Xue family patriarch with anticipation, then looked at the Xue family patriarch and the grand elders of the Xue family. Patriarch, elders, please grant us our wish. Senior, please grant us our wish. Ling Yun said. At this time, he did not say much. He only bowed 90 degrees, and his words were filled with sincerity and sincerity. Grandfather. Little Ling Jing looked at the Xue family patriarch timidly. Although he had been yelled at by the Xue family patriarch previously and was afraid of him, he still spoke again at this time, looking at the Xue family patriarch with anticipation. The Xue family patriarch's face was ashen. He clenched his fists and looked at the Xue family patriarch and the others. The Xue family patriarch's expression was also extremely ugly. He looked at Lin Tian, then at Ling Yun and Xue Jinger. With a cold expression, he said sarcastically, Do you still need to seek the approval of us old fellows now? Do you still have the right to decide now? As he said that, he looked at Xue Jinger. Let's go. Let's go. Just pretend that you're not part of the Xue family. Xue Jinger's face was pale. Patriarch, now, she could be together with Ling Yun. However, how could she feel good about the Xue family patriarch's words? Lin Tian glanced at the Xue family patriarch. Are you unhappy? He looked at the other party and said, I know what you and the rest of your clan are thinking. You think that the Xue clan is very strong because you established your clan in the 6th dimension and are second only to the 6th dimension. Therefore, you think that Ling Yun, who came from the 4th dimension and is only at the manifestation realm, isn't worthy of the saneness of your clan. You think that we, Ling Yun, are trying to climb up to your clan, right? It's fine, it's not a big deal. You use the strength of the Xue family to determine the status of the saintess of your family. Then, we will use the strength of the immortal court to determine Ling Yun's status. Looking at the Xue family patriarch, he said, I will represent the immortal court in this battle. I will show you who has a higher status between the saintess of your family and Ling Yun of the immortal court. I will show you that the Xue family is nothing in front of the immortal court. Feelings had nothing to do with the difference in status and cultivation. He didn't want to say such words, nor did he want to compare the status of Ling Yun and Xue Jinger. However, the Xue family patriarch still didn't approve of the marriage between Xue Jinger and Ling Yun. He still looked down on Ling Yun and still felt that Ling Yun was trying to climb up the social ladder of the Xue family. That was why he said such words. He wanted to use absolute strength to completely crush the arrogance of the Xue family patriarch and the rest. He wanted the entire Xue family to recognize Ling Yun from the bottom of their hearts. He wanted them to truly acknowledge the marriage between Xue Jinger and Ling Yun. Chapter 2420. Yu. Inside the Xue family patriarch and Patriarch Xue looked at Lin Tian. Everyone trembled in shock. They clearly saw Lin Tian's Rinnegan. Lin Tian actually controlled the legendary reincarnation. That was a power that even the ancient paragons couldn't control. That was a power that would be truly invincible once cultivated. This was an unparalleled temptation to anyone in the world. At this time, Lin Tian actually revealed reincarnation without any scruples and spread this news to the entire 6th dimension. He publicly challenged the Pei family and the other top 6 orthodoxies in the 6th dimension and challenged everyone in the 6th dimension. One person wanted to challenge the entire 6th dimension? Was he crazy? Xue Jinger was shocked. Even though Ling Yun often mentioned Lin Tian to her, he didn't mention that Lin Tian controlled the reincarnation Tao. She only found out now that Lin Tian actually controlled the legendary reincarnation Tao. Moreover, she didn't expect that Lin Tian would actually challenge the entire 6th dimension at this time. She also knew that Lin Tian was doing this for the sake of Ling Yun and her. However, This was too dangerous. After all, Lin Tian was challenging the entire sixth dimension. Lin Tian, this is too dangerous. You. Ling Yun also revealed a worried expression. It's fine, it's no big deal. Lin Tian smiled and said to Ling Yun. Then he looked at the patriarch of the Shui family, the head of the Shui family, and the group of grand elders. Let's go. Go to Maguang Wasteland and witness it. With that, he turned around and headed towards Maguang Wasteland with Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the others. Ling Yun and Shui Jing had worried expressions. Shui Jing held little Ling Jing's hand and followed. The Shui family patriarch and the others were shocked. Then they gritted their teeth and followed. The sixth dimension was vast and boundless. The hundreds of thousands of divine consciousness imprints that Lin Tian sent out from the Shui family spread throughout the entire sixth dimension. Soon, one cultivator after another saw these divine consciousness imprints, and it didn't take long for them to spread throughout the sixth dimension. That's the Rinnegan? He really controlled reincarnation? He controlled that legendary power? Reincarnation, once mastered, is truly invincible power. This power. In the sixth dimension, the cultivation world was in an uproar. Why did he expose himself? Using such a divine sense imprint to make the entire sixth dimension focus on me? Is there some kind of trap? Otherwise, wouldn't he be stupid? Is he going to challenge the entire sixth dimension? Is he crazy? Many cultivators were puzzled by Lin Tian's actions. However, these doubts were quickly forgotten. This was because reincarnation was the most important thing. With the divine consciousness imprints spread out, pairs of eyes in different corners intertwined with greed and excitement. One after another, powerful cultivators moved and headed towards Maguang Wasteland. At the same time, in the sixth dimension, the Pei family, Blissful Island, Chaotic Sky Sword Pavilion, Sancian Sect, Haiyua Divine Sect, and Heartless Hall, the higher-ups of the six top orthodoxies moved immediately. They stepped out of their clans and headed towards Maguang Wasteland. The six top orthodoxies had been searching for Lin Tian's traces recently, but to no avail. They didn't expect Lin Tian to expose his whereabouts and challenge them. Maguang Wasteland in the sixth dimension, the terrain was flat and empty. There were no green plants within a radius of tens of thousands of miles, only withered yellow grass. Lin Tian had already arrived here after leaving the Shui family. He stood quietly at the center of Maguang Wasteland. The periphery of Maguang Wasteland was surrounded by many mountain ranges. The Saint Spirit Chi between the mountains was extremely rich. Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the others stood quietly at the top of an immortal peak, looking at Lin Tian in the center of Maguang Wasteland. The Shui family's patriarch, and supreme elders had also followed them here. They were also on the same immortal peak, looking at Lin Tian in Maguang Wasteland from afar. One person challenging the entire sixth dimension. Does he really think he can stop the entire sixth dimension? He's courting death. The Shui family's patriarch whispered, but his eyes couldn't help but fluctuate. He couldn't hide the shock in his heart when he heard that Lin Tian had control over reincarnation and that Lin Tian had exposed reincarnation and challenged everyone in the sixth dimension. Old man, open your eyes and watch carefully. Even if he's only a mid-heaven realm cultivator, my father can still crush the entire sixth dimension. Ruoxian glared at the Shui family's patriarch. The Shui family's patriarch was extremely dissatisfied with Ruoxian's tone and attitude, but he didn't dare to do anything now. This was Lin Tian's daughter. He believed that if he dared to do anything to Ruoxian, he would definitely be killed by Lin Tian in an instant. Some dark clouds gradually appeared in the sky of Maguang Wasteland, and the wind began to blow. Lin Tian stood quietly in Maguang Wasteland. Ever since the Shui family's Eye of Destiny and Rinnegan were opened, they had never been closed. With his current strength, the Eye of Destiny and Rinnegan were no longer a burden to him. Time slowly passed in this place. Afterwards, after who knew how many levels had passed, groups of figures appeared outside Maguang Wastelands, densely packed together. They're here. At the peak of the immortal peak, Ruashian, and the others all saw the cultivators of the sixth dimension rushing here. Lin Tian stood quietly in the center of Maguang Wasteland. He naturally saw these people, but he didn't do anything. At the same time, more cultivators arrived outside Maguang Wasteland in the blink of an eye. Then, in just an instant, these people saw Lin Tian in the center of Maguang Wasteland and Lin Tian's Rinnegan. Rinnegan! It's really the Rinnegan! He really controls the cycle of reincarnation. The group of cultivators was shocked, excited, and excited. Their eyes couldn't help but intertwine with a deep light. The sound of air being torn apart could be heard as a group of cultivators charged towards Lin Tian. Reincarnation is mine, someone shouted. A surging aura immediately spread out. Several thousand people charged at Lin Tian at the same time. After arriving here, they did not stop at all. It was as if they were wild beasts that had seen the most delicious prey after a long time of hunger. Among them, the weakest was in the Hot-Eon realm, while the strongest was in the Middle Heaven realm. Together, their aura was extremely strong. Lin Tian stood quietly in place, not moving at all. His eyes were indifferent. A group of Middle Heaven realm and Hot-Eon realm cultivators dared to attack him like this. Did they think that he, who controlled the cycle of reincarnation, was a speck of dust? He stood in place and didn't make any extra movements. He allowed the group of people to pounce on him, ignoring everything. In the blink of an eye, thousands of cultivators rushed in front of him and grabbed at him. However, in the next moment, thousands of cultivators trembled and exploded one after another. They were all annihilated by the aura that naturally lingered around his body. In the blink of an eye, blood dyed the ground red. Such a scene instantly shocked all of the other cultivators who had entered the Maguang Wasteland. Not a single one of them had moved, but thousands of lesser Heaven Stage and Heaven Stage cultivators had exploded and died, which was somewhat horrifying. Instantly, some of the Hot-Eon and Heaven Realm cultivators who had come here with the intention of reincarnation trembled violently. Let's attack him together. He's only one person. He won't be able to hold on for long. He must have used some special divine ability just now. Let's suppress him together and share the reincarnation. An expert who was infinitely close to the greater Heaven Stage roared as he held a quasi-Shintian grade precious weapon in his hand, which blossomed with dazzling holy light. Together, many people responded. This time, more than 10,000 cultivators rushed towards Lin Tian from different angles. Their majestic holy might completely sealed off the space around Lin Tian. The aura was very frightening. Lin Tian stood quietly in place. Just like before, he didn't make any moves and let these people attack him. Then, anyone who came within 10 feet of him to attack him was shattered by the aura around his body. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air echoed out, and the greater heaven realm aura spread out. At this moment, a greater heaven stage cultivator made a move. It was an old man in a gray robe. He formed a hand seal that covered the sky and grabbed towards Lin Tian. At the same time, dozens of other greater heaven stage cultivators also made a move from different directions. In the blink of an eye, the greater heaven stage aura pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian still didn't move. Only his reincarnation eye shook slightly, and the purgatory of reincarnation was silently cast. Ah! Miserable screams rang out at the first moment. The dozens of greater heaven stage cultivators who had rushed over were all at the early greater heaven stage. At this moment, they fell to the ground one after another and struggled desperately. Streaks of blood interwove in their eyes, and in the blink of an eye, they stopped breathing. At the same time, Lin Tian raised his hand, and the Tao-defying divine sword appeared in his hand. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing, and the sharp sword light shook the 9 heavens. The Tao-defiant sword light swept through everything with the power to destroy everything. In the distance, on top of the immortal peak, the Shui clan's ancestor, Patriarch Shui, and the others all trembled, their faces much paler. In fact, they had already seen Lin Tianyi kill the first supreme elder of the Blissful Island, who was at the peak of the Xiantian realm, with his sword. Lin Tianyi was much stronger than these people, But this time, they were still shocked and horrified. Because in just a moment, dozens of early-stage Xiantian warriors and more than 10,000 middle-stage Hodian warriors were all wiped out in this place. That kind of impact was really too great, and it shook their hearts. The number of sixth-dimensional heavens cultivators that Lin Tian had killed in an instant was definitely dozens of times more powerful than the Shui clan. In other words, if Lin Tian wanted to, he could destroy dozens of clans like the Shui clan with a single strike of his sword. Do you really think these people can take away Father's reincarnation? Ruoxian snorted. The group of people stood on top of the immortal peak and looked at the center of the Maguang wasteland from afar. With their cultivation bases, it was absolutely not difficult for them to see things within tens of thousands of miles with their divine consciousness. The Maguang wasteland was dyed with even more blood. Lin Tian stood quietly in the middle of the wasteland, not moving a single step. Blood dyed the ground around him red. He stood in the middle of the wasteland like a demon god. This? Chapter 24-21. Everyone was shocked. Those were dozens of early-stage Xiantian experts and more than 10,000 middle-stage Hodian experts. But now, they were all killed by Lin Tian in an instant. He's only at the middle stage. How everyone was in disbelief. How could someone at the early stage of the middle stage have such combat strength? Was this the combat strength of a middle-stage cultivator? Even if he had mastered the reincarnation, it was obviously not complete. Under such circumstances, how could he easily kill enemies who were one realm higher than him after reaching the middle stage? This was simply a fantasy story. However, such a fantasy happened in front of everyone's eyes, and it made everyone's heart tremble. The sound of air being torn apart sounded one after another. The Maguang wilderness covered a large area. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands of cultivators had gathered here, including some peak-stage Xiantian experts. Whoosh! In an instant, a peak-stage Xiantian expert moved. His speed was astonishing, and his pressure was terrifying. He directly grabbed at Lin Tian. Moreover, as this person made a move, other peak-stage Xiantian experts rushed out and pressed at Lin Tian together. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 peak-stage Xiantian experts attacked, and their combined momentum shook the area. The ancestor of the Luo Tian Immortal Palace. The sect master of the illusory moon cult. The sect master of the Cloud Howl Immortal Sect. Many cultivators recognized these peak-stage Xiantian experts one after another. They were all reclusive old antiques. Lin Tian stood where he was and looked at these people indifferently. In the blink of an eye, someone rushed in front of him with unconcealable greed in his eyes. He grabbed at his head with a big hand that was intertwined with the light of sealing. Obviously, he wanted to suppress him first, and then slowly find a way to seize his reincarnation. His eyes were indifferent. He simply leaned to the side and dodged the attack. The Tao-defying divine sword in his hand was intertwined with the power of the three-dimensional world. He slashed off the man's arm, intertwining with a dazzling blood mist. At the same time, he interweaved the power of the three-dimensional world in his left hand and clasped the man's neck. Rinnegan shook slightly. Under the suppression of the opponent with the power of the three-dimensional world, he forcibly read the opponent's sea of consciousness with Rinnegan. Bright Heart Celestial Temple. I will personally make a trip there later. Using his Rinnegan to forcibly read the man's spiritual sea, he instantly learned the origin of this man. He was the Grand Abbot of the Bright Heart Immortal Temple, a second-level power in the sixth dimension. As soon as he said that, the Tao-defying divine sword in his hand, which was mixed with the power of the three-dimensional realm, slashed mercilessly at this person. How powerful was the power of heaven and earth? Even though only a little of it was added to the Tao-defying divine sword, it was not something that a mere Xiantian realm cultivator could contend against. In the blink of an eye, the temple master of the Bright Heart Celestial Temple was killed in body and soul. Then, without any unnecessary movements, he waved the Tao-defying divine sword in his hand and threw out sharp sword lights that filled the sky. At the same time, He used the power of the three-dimensional world in his body to activate the four-symbol seal. In the blink of an eye, the four symbols Tao diagram filled the sky. Driven by the power of the three-dimensional world, the four symbols Tao diagram was so powerful that more than 100 Xiantian realm experts were forced to dodge. He stepped forward and slashed with the Tao defying divine sword from time to time. He dodged another person's attack and pierced through the man with his sword, suppressing him. Then, under the man's horrified eyes, he used his rinnegan to forcibly read his spiritual sea. Heavenly Slaughter Taoist Sect. I'll personally make a trip there later. This man was the patriarch of the Heavenly Slaughter Taoist Sect. After reading the man's memory, he showed no mercy. The Tao-defying divine sword that entered the man's body vibrated, mixed with the power of the three-dimensional world, and exploded in the man's body and soul. His expression did not change at all. After killing this man, he faced the others. The power of the three-dimensional world surrounded him. The Tao diagram of the four symbols appeared horizontally. Together with the power of the three-dimensional world, it annihilated wave after wave of attacks. He condensed a new Tao-defying divine sword and slashed horizontally. He faced more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts alone with no expression on his face. Luotian Immortal Palace. I will personally visit them on another day. Phantom Moon Cult. Very good. Cloud Howl. Immortal Sect. Wait for me. He faced more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts alone. Every time he suppressed someone, he would first find out the opponent's origin and then kill him. He would remember all the people who had the inheritance of a sect and then go to them one by one to settle the score. Since he wanted to fight, he would fight until the entire sixth dimension trembled. Puff! 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 Dazzling blood splashed out streak after streak in this place, dyeing the void red, dyeing every inch of the ground red. This place was the periphery of Maguang Wasteland. Millions of sixth-dimension cultivators had gathered here. At this moment, they could not help but tremble when they saw this scene. Some of them who had turned pale before now turned even paler. Those were more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts. They were almost invincible under the sixth dimension. But now, more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts were besieging Lin Tian. Lin Tianyi faced the siege of more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts, but the result was like this. One peak Xiantian realm expert after another was killed by a simple sword strike. Moreover, during this process, Lin Tian would search these people's knowledge seas every time to find out their origins. Then, he would mention the names of the sects one by one, as if he was preparing to go to these sects to settle the score. This made people's hearts palpitate. How could an early-stage heaven cultivator have such a battle strength? How could he kill peak Xiantian realm experts like cutting vegetables? How could an early-stage heaven cultivator have such confidence to search everyone's knowledge seas during the battle to find out their origins and prepare to go to their sects to settle the score? Did he think that no one in the sixth dimension was his match? Far away, on the immortal peak outside Maguang Wasteland, Shui Clan's patriarch and the others were all trembling. At this time, the battle strength Lin Tian displayed shocked them even more. How powerful was the combined battle strength of more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts? They were definitely much stronger than the #1 Grand Elder of the Blissful Island. But even in such a situation, Lin Tian still easily killed the invaders. This is so strong. So strong. Shui Jing, Er's eyes were filled with shock. Even Ling Yun was shocked by the battle prowess that Lin Tian displayed at this moment. Only Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the others were calm because they knew Lin Tian's current strength. Boom! Powerful saints roamed the Maguang Wastelands. Among the 100 or so peak Xiantian realm experts, there were the ancestors of powerful immortal sects and the master of the sovereign sect, and there were also some powerful independent cultivators. As they were killed one after another, fear appeared on the faces of the others. With a whoosh, the sound of the air being torn apart rang out. Someone abandoned Lin Tian and began to retreat, turning into a ray of light and fleeing into the distance. Now, Lin Tian's battle strength was simply too shocking. He was simply a monster and not human. Facing the siege of more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts with his early-stage heaven cultivation, he actually killed dozens of them in the blink of an eye. How could they fight this? They couldn't win at all. In the blink of an eye, this person had fled far away. Following this person's escape, the other peak Xiantian realm experts also retreated, retreating into the distance together. At this moment, these Xiantian realm experts were all scared. In their eyes, Lin Tian wasn't human at all. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent as he watched these people flee. His Rinnegan shook slightly, and he directly summoned the endless origin reincarnation light. Together with the power of the three-dimensional world, he directly propped up a powerful light barrier and forced these people back. Clang! Without any superfluous words, the Tao-defying divine sword in his hand that was mixed with the power of the three-dimensional world slashed out mercilessly. A mighty rain of swords swept towards everyone. Under this rain of swords, he pressed on one person after another, suppressing and forcibly reading their minds, and then directly erasing them. Qiansha Treasure Sect, Halberd Immortal Sect, Liyue Sword Sect, Lycian Academy, Falling Star Ancient House, in different voices came out of his mouth one after another. Facing more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts alone, his eyes were indifferent. He found out the origins of all those who had the inheritance of a sect and killed them. Blood splattered everywhere. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 peak Xiantian realm experts were all killed by the divine sword in his hand. It was also at this moment, almost at the very next moment after he killed over 100 pinnacle innate stage experts, an extremely horrifying pressure came from 6 different directions. 6 figures rushed over from 6 different directions and arrived in the blink of an eye. Pei Family Patriarch, Blissful Island Lord, the Grand Pavilion Master of the Chaotic Sky Sword Pavilion, Sanxian Sect Patriarch, Haoyue Divine Sect Patriarch, Heartless Palace's Grand Hall Master. Outside Maguang Wasteland, the 6 dimensions cultivators trembled. In the 6th dimension, the strongest cultivators of the 6 top orthodoxies had all arrived at this moment. All of them were 6th-dimension cultivators. Junior, I found you. You exposed your reincarnation cycle and your traces. You're really bold. The Blissful Island Lord's eyes were filled with endless light. The Tao-defying divine sword in Lin Tian's hand dissipated, and the 3rd dimension's force of heaven and earth surged out and formed a new divine sword in his hand. In the blink of an eye, a dazzling sword of light appeared in his hand. It was completely formed by the 3rd dimension's force of heaven and earth. The sword of heaven and earth. Clang! Without any superfluous words, he raised his hand and swung the sword at the Blissful Island Lord. The swift and fierce sword aura and the terrifying speed of the sword arrived in front of the Blissful Island Lord in the blink of an eye. The Blissful Island Lord was shocked and quickly tried to dodge, but he couldn't avoid the sword at all. The sword was too fast. Puff! Dazzling blood splattered everywhere. Under this sword strike, the Blissful Island's Taishang Island Master directly exploded into pieces. In an instant, everyone in Maguang Wasteland turned pale. How is this possible? The Grand Island Master of the Blissful Island was a 6th-dimension cultivator, one of the top 6 figures in the 6th dimension. However, he had just been killed by Lin Tian, a heaven stage cultivator, with a single slash of his sword. On a peak far away, the Shui family's patriarch, and the Grand Elders all trembled. The Shui family's patriarch looked at Lin Tian from afar. His lips were trembling, and his eyes were filled with horror. Chapter 24-22. Everyone was shocked. The Blissful Island Master was a 6th-dimensional realm cultivator, but now he had been shattered by Lin Tian's sword in just one move. His blood dyed the sky red. This was too shocking. How was this possible? Everyone could clearly feel that Lin Tian's cultivation base was only at the early stage of the heaven stage. The Blissful Island's Grand Elder's body was shattered, but his divine soul wasn't destroyed. In the blink of an eye, he reformed his body. Looking at Lin Tian again, the 6th-dimensional realm cultivator was both shocked and angry. He was a sixth-dimensional realm cultivator, but now his body had been shattered by Lin Tian, who was only at the early stage of the heaven stage in front of everyone. It was the same as slapping him in the face in front of everyone in the sixth-dimensional realm, and the sound of the slap was extremely loud. What kind of humiliation was this? Lin Tiantan looked at the Grand Elder coldly. His left eye of destiny slightly trembled, and the teleportation ability of the Eye of Destiny was activated. In the next moment, he appeared in front of the Blissful Island's Grand Elder and swung the sword of heaven and earth at him again. The Blissful Island's Taishang Island couldn't dodge the attack at all and was hit by it once again. With a puff, blood splashed everywhere. The sixth-dimensional realm cultivator's body was once again shattered. Damn it! As a sixth-dimensional realm cultivator, the Blissful Island's Grand Elder was undoubtedly very powerful. His divine soul trembled, and he quickly reformed his body. At the same time, he distanced himself from Lin Tian and stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. Twice. In such a short period of time, his body had been shattered twice by Lin Tian in front of everyone. Previously, when they were in the three-dimensional world, Lin Tian could only dodge their attacks. But now, even though his cultivation base hadn't changed, his battle prowess had increased so much. What was going on? How was this possible? At the same time, the Pei family's ancestor, the Chaotic Sky Sword Pavilion's Grand Pavilion Master, the Sancian Sect's Grand Hall Master, the Heartless Hall's Grand Hall Master, and the Vast Moon Divine Sect's ancestor were all shocked. Looking at Lin Tian, they could not help but narrow their eyes. Why did the Lin Tian from back then suddenly become so terrifying? He had actually killed the Grand Master of the Bliss Island twice in a row. The Island Master of the Blissful Island was no weaker than them. For a moment, looking at Lin Tian, the few ancient existences of the sixth dimension were momentarily stunned. Lin Tian's eyes were indifferent as he glanced at the Bliss Island's Grand Master, who had retreated far away. He didn't chase after him. Then he looked at the Pei family's Grand Master, the Chaotic Sky Sword Pavilion's Grand Pavilion Master, the Sancian Sect's Grand Master, the Heartless Hall's Grand Master, and the Vast Moon Divine Sect's Grand Master. Didn't you want my reincarnation? What are you waiting for? He was very calm as he swept his gaze over the sixth-dimensional experts. Come and meet together. Let's have a good taste of what it means to be weak and powerless. His words were very calm, but when they fell into the ears of the Pei family's Grand Master and the others, they were undoubtedly filled with mockery. Insolent fool, the Pei family's Grand Master said coldly. The other sixth-dimensional realm Grand Masters' gazes were also cold as they moved one after another, attacking Lin Tian at the same time. The majestic sixth-dimensional realm aura was vast and mighty, suppressing the surroundings. The Bliss Island's Grand Master's body had been destroyed twice by Lin Tian, so his attacks were the fiercest. Tens of thousands of law energy interweaved and suppressed the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding space was completely sealed. Lin Tian's expression didn't change as he casually waved the sword of heaven and earth in his hand. The energy of heaven and earth boiled as he slashed out. The attacks launched by the sixth-dimensional realm experts were all shattered in the blink of an eye. The sixth-dimensional realm experts' expressions became even colder as they activated their law energy and various grand techniques. Boom! 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 The intense collision caused the surrounding space to shatter one after another. Lin Tian waved the sword of heaven and earth as he fought against sixth-dimensional realm experts. His expression didn't change in the slightest. That's enough. His voice was calm as the sword of heaven and earth in his hand suddenly became dazzling. More and more heaven and earth energy gushed out from the three-dimensional world within his body. He raised his right hand, and the sword of heaven and earth in his hand slowly slashed towards the Bliss Island's Grand Master. The extremely fast and fierce sword energy instantly engulfed everything, and in the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the Bliss Island's Grand Master. Damn it! Give me! Puff! The Bliss Island's Grand Master's words were interrupted, and the saint energy around his body was destroyed once again. Moreover, this time his spirit body also disappeared along with it. In an instant, all the sixth-dimensional realm experts in Maguang Wasteland trembled. How is this possible? Everyone's eyes were filled with shock. The Bliss Island's Grandmaster, a sixth-dimensional realm expert, was actually killed by Lin Tian. Dead. Both his body and soul were destroyed. On a distant immortal peak, the Shui family's Patriarch Shui, and the grand elders of this branch all trembled, and their faces turned pale. Lin Tian, with his early heaven stage cultivation base, actually killed a sixth-dimensional realm expert. The Bliss Island's Grandmaster, one of the top 6 orthodoxies in the sixth-dimensional realm, was killed just like that. In the center of Maguang Wasteland, the Pei family's Patriarch, the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion's Grand Pavilion Master, the Sancian Sect's Grand Hall Master, the Heartless Palace's Grand Hall Master, and the Vast Moon Divine Sect's Grand Hall Master were all sixth-dimensional realm experts. The 5 of them stared at Lin Tian, and they couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. The Bliss Island's Grand Master was actually killed by Lin Tian just like that. Don't worry, it will be your turn soon. Lin Tian was very calm. As soon as he finished speaking, his eye of destiny trembled slightly, and he used his teleportation ability. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the Pei family's Patriarch. When he appeared in front of the Patriarch, he didn't make any unnecessary movements. The sword of heaven and earth in his hand mercilessly slashed down. The Pei family's Patriarch didn't have time to react to Lin Tian's teleportation ability. Facing this sudden attack, he couldn't even counterattack. All he could do was hurriedly erect a majestic Saint energy defense. However, this kind of defense was too weak in front of the sword of heaven and earth. In the blink of an eye, it was shattered. Then, the sword of heaven and earth didn't slow down at all. It pressed down in a straight line and enveloped the Patriarch's entire body. PFFF. Blood splattered everywhere, accompanied by a scream of terror and despair. Then, the place became much quieter. Pei. In Maguang Wasteland, the sixth-dimensional realm cultivator's expressions changed again. After the Bliss Island's Grandmaster, the Pei family's sixth-dimensional realm Patriarch was also killed by a single sword strike. Both his body and soul were destroyed. Paying no attention to these people's shock, Lin Tian held the sword of heaven and earth and slowly walked toward the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion Supreme Pavilion Master, Sancian Sect's Grand Master, Heartless Hall's Grand Master, and the Vast Moon Divine Sect's Grand Master. Seeing Lin Tian walking toward them, the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion Supreme Pavilion Master, Sancian Sect's Grand Master, Heartless Hall's Grand Master, and the Vast Moon Divine Sect's Grand Master couldn't help but tremble slightly. They couldn't help but grit their teeth. In the next moment, the Grand Pavilion Master of the Chaotic Heavenly Sword Pavilion retreated with a swoosh. He fled into the distance at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, he was extremely far away. The space around him distorted because of his extreme speed. At the same time, the Grand Master of Sancian Sect, Heartless Hall's Grand Master, and the Vast Moon Divine Sect's Grand Master also began to retreat. Currently, Lin Tian's combat strength was simply too outrageous. They couldn't figure out how Lin Tian, who was only at the early stage of the Heaven Realm, could possess such combat strength. This was because no matter how monstrous a person was, it was impossible for them to kill their enemies so easily and calmly when the gap between their cultivation was so large. This was simply too monstrous. Ran away? In Maguang Wasteland, the number of six-dimensional heavens cultivators who had gathered here at this time had almost reached 10 million. At this time, when they saw the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion Supreme Pavilion Master, Sancian Sect's Grand Master, Heartless Hall's Grand Master, and the Vast Moon Divine Sect's Grand Master, they couldn't help but be shocked. Lin Tian watched the 4 people escape indifferently. His expression didn't change at all. His eye of destiny and eye of reincarnation trembled slightly at the same time. Boundless power of destiny and light of reincarnation emerged at the same time, transforming into countless vortexes of destiny and the heavenly river of reincarnation. Bang! 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 In the blink of an eye, the four people were all blocked off and were repelled by the heavenly river of reincarnation and the vortexes of destiny. You think you can come and go as you please? Who do you think I am? Lin Tiantan said coldly, the sword of heaven and earth in his hand, erupting with a brilliant killing light. He raised his hand and slashed at the Grand Master of the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion. The Grand Master of the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion was shocked and furious. He roared wildly and fully displayed his six-dimensional saint energy at this moment. He met Lin Tiantan's sword attack head-on and propped up a majestic saint energy to protect his body. Lin Tiantan's Eye of Destiny trembled slightly, and he used his teleportation ability again. In a flash, he appeared behind the Grand Master of the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion. Clang! Without any superfluous words, the sword of heaven and earth in his hand slashed down again. The Grand Master of the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion was horrified and furious. Damn it, you! Poof! Blood splattered, dyeing the void red. The Grand Master of the Chaotic Heavens Sword Pavilion was directly cut into pieces, his body and soul destroyed. Lin Tiantan's expression did not change at all. It was as if he had just cut a blade of grass. He looked at the Grand Master of the Sanxian Sect, the Grand Master of the Heartless Hall, and the Grand Master of the Haoyue Divine Sect, and the Grand Master of the Haoyue Divine Sect. The sword of heaven and earth in his hand slashed out again with a monstrous sword aura. Ah! A blood-curdling scream was heard. It was mournful and unwilling. The Grand Master of the Sanxian Sect was hit by the sword. His head cracked, his spirit shattered, and the rest of his body turned into ashes. Lin Tiantan's expression still did not change. The sword of heaven and earth became even more turbulent. The brilliant sword light almost drowned the entire Maguang wilderness. His gaze fell on the Grand Master of the Heartless Hall, and he slashed down with the sword. The brilliant sword light and the unparalleled sword aura were unstoppable wherever it passed. Everything tangible was destroyed in the blink of an eye. A bloody mist bloomed in the next moment. The Grand Master of the Heartless Hall could not resist the sword and was instantly destroyed. Chapter 24-23. The Haoyue Divine Sect's Patriarch was terrified. Lin Tian's combat power was too exaggerated, and there was no way he could resist him. In just a short while, the Pei family patriarch and Sanxian sect patriarch, who were at the same level as him, were killed one after another. They couldn't even escape. Little friend, if you have any requests, just say it. As long as you let me go, I'll agree to anything you want. The man looked at Lin Tian and spoke again. Request? I want your life. Lin Tian was very calm. The sword of heaven and earth in his hand intertwined with the power of heaven and earth as he slowly walked toward the Haoyue Divine Sect's patriarch. The Haoyue Divine Sect's patriarch's heart palpitated. He walked toward Lin Tian and couldn't help but retreat. You? Why you have to be so ruthless? You have nothing to lose. Lin Tian said disdainfully. How can someone in the sixth dimension say something so ignorant? How did you cultivate to this level? As soon as he finished speaking, he used the teleportation ability of the Eye of Destiny. He appeared in front of the patriarch and slashed at him. With a clang, the sword of heaven and earth let out an ear-piercing sword whistle with an incomparably terrifying power that suppressed the surroundings. The Haoyue Divine Sect's patriarch was shocked and angry. He roared wildly and pushed his saint energy to the limit to meet the sword. However, it was useless. Blood splattered, and the endless life energy was annihilated. Under the sword of heaven and earth, the Haoyue Divine Sect's patriarch exploded on the spot. His soul was annihilated along with it. In the blink of an eye, the vast Maguang wasteland became deathly silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. How? How is this possible? The six known existences in the sixth dimension, the strongest patriarchs of this generation of the six top orthodoxies, on this day, on this Maguang wasteland, they were all killed in the blink of an eye by an early-stage Middle Heaven cultivator. On the vast Maguang wasteland, Lin Tian stood at the center and swept his gaze over the millions of sixth-dimension cultivators outside of Maguang Wasteland. Who else wants to seize reincarnation? His voice was calm. In an instant, the tens of millions of cultivators on the outskirts of Maguang Wilderness began to back away. To have the courage to rush to this place after hearing about Samsara, these people all possessed extraordinary strength. They were all elite experts of the sixth dimension, and most of them were at the peak of the Middle Heaven realm or the Xiantian realm. At this moment, when they met Lin Tian's gaze, they all trembled and their faces turned pale. No one dared to make a sound, and their eyes were filled with horror. Lin Tian glanced at them, took a simple step forward, and appeared on the mountain outside Maguang Wasteland. How about it? Are you convinced? Is my immortal court inferior to your Shui family? Ling Yun of my immortal court, a hall master, is worthy of the saintess of your Shui clan? He looked at the ancestor of the Shui family. The Shui family's ancestor trembled slightly, his face pale. Looking at Lin Tian, who was approaching him, his limbs couldn't help but tremble. I'm convinced. One of them represented the immortal court and challenged the sixth-dimensional heavens, which attracted countless experts from the sixth-dimensional heavens. Even the sixth-dimensional realm ancestors of the six top-notch orthodoxies had personally arrived. However, all of them were killed in the blink of an eye without exception. The other elites of the sixth-dimensional heavens who rushed over were all pale with fright. No one dared to make a sound. On this day, Lin Tianyi represented the immortal court and fought until the entire sixth dimension went silent. The most terrifying thing was that Lin Tian's cultivation was only at the early heaven realm. How could he not be convinced? At this moment, he felt the terror of Lin Tian and the immortal court from the bottom of his heart. His internal organs were trembling, and his eyes were filled with horror. As Lin Tian said before, the Shui family was nothing in front of the immortal court. As a hall master of the immortal court, how could the Shui family dare to look down on him? How could they be qualified to look down on him? Lin Tian looked at the ancestor of the Shui family. Now, are you still against the marriage between the saintess of your family and Ling Yun of the immortal court? The ancestor of the Shui family quickly shook his head and looked at Shui Jing. Your marriage with nephew Ling is set from today onwards. It's the honor of the Shui family for you to marry nephew Ling. As he spoke, he looked at Ling Yun and said, Ling, nephew Ling, we were blind before and brought harm to you and little Ling Jing. I'm here to represent the entire Shui family to apologize to you. From now on, I'll leave Jing in your care. Ling Yun and Ling Jing were pleasantly surprised. Thank you, ancestor. Thank you, senior. The two of them bowed to the ancestor of the Shui family. Then they looked at Lin Tian. Big brother Lin, thank you. Thank you. Ling Jing said with tears of joy. She never thought that she would be reunited with Ling Yun and Ling Jing after being forced apart by her family not long ago. The ancestor of the Shui family had truly acknowledged her marriage with Ling Yun from the bottom of his heart. And all of this was because of Lin Tian. If not for Lin Tian's help, she and Ling Yun would have no hope at all. She might never see her child again. Lin Tian, thank you. Ling Yun looked at Lin Tian and said, full of emotions. Lin Tian challenged the entire six dimensions of heaven alone just to get the Shui family to acknowledge him from the bottom of their hearts. He was extremely touched. Lin Tian smiled and hammered him. Do we still need to thank each other? Ling Yun smiled foolishly and scratched the back of his head. Thank you, Uncle Master. Ling Jing looked up at Lin Tian and said crisply. At the same time, his little face was full of admiration. Lin Tian squatted down and smiled as he rubbed the little guy's head. You're welcome, little nephew. Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the rest were all here to congratulate Ling Yun and Shui Jing. Now that the two of them could truly be together, and Ling Jing could have his mother by his side, everyone was happy. After a while, the ancestor of the Shui family stepped forward and said to Lin Tiandao, little friend Lin, how about coming to the Shui family to rest now? He looked at Lin Tian, then at Ling Yun and Ling Jing. He was a little reserved. Then, shall we hold an official wedding for Ling Yun and Jing? Lin Tian looked at the ancestor and smiled faintly. Senior Shui, you don't have to be so reserved. Since you've agreed to the marriage between Miss Jing and our Ling Yun, your Shui family and my immortal court are in-laws. There's no need to be so polite. Let's go. We won't disturb your family anymore. It's necessary to hold a wedding for them. The Shui family had truly acknowledged Ling Yun and agreed to the marriage between Ling Yun and Shui Jing. He naturally treated them with the same courtesy as before. On this day, he Wu Yi and the rest visited the Shui family again. However, it was different from before. This time, the Shui family welcomed them warmly and treated them as unparalleled honored guests. After that, the Shui family held a grand wedding for Ling Yun and Ling Jing. The entire Shui family celebrated. Just like that, half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian, Wu Yi, and the rest stayed at the Shui family for half a month. Then, they bid farewell and left. As for Shui Jing, she naturally followed Ling Yun and left with them. Soon, they walked far away from the mountain range where the Shui family was located. Father, are we going back to the fifth dimension to look for Senior Uncle Feng Shun and the rest? After walking for a distance, Ruoxian asked Lin Tian. Jiu by Chiu, and the rest also looked at Lin Tian. No hurry. Lin Tian smiled. Let's visit some of the great sects in the sixth dimension. In the Maguang wasteland, the great sects in the sixth dimension had come to snatch his reincarnation. Although he had exposed his reincarnation to attract these people's malice could not be concealed. He would not let them go so easily. Long ago, he had searched the sea of consciousness of the experts who had attacked him and found out the origins of many of them. Now he was going to attack them one by one. He would not go so far as to destroy these great sects, but he had to take something out. Hearing this, Ruoxian's eyes lit up. Combined with the previous battle in the Maguang wasteland, she naturally understood Lin Tian's meaning. Yes, I like it. She clenched her hands. Seeing her like this, Lin Tian was both amused and angry. She was exactly like a violent person. Oh, you take after me? He could not help but laugh. He led Ruoxian, Wu Yi, and the others through the sixth dimension. After half a month, they arrived in front of a group of holy mountains. The sacred mountain range was lofty and majestic, and the sacred spiritual chi mixed within it was incomparably terrifying. As far as the eye could see, there were numerous ancient sacred palaces laid horizontally within it, and numerous floating treasured islands were faintly discernible one after another. There were even ancient spiritual birds flying in the sky, and it was an extraordinary scene. Pei family, Lin Tiandao, Shui Jing followed them and was very familiar with the sixth dimension. Naturally, he knew the location of the Pei family. On this day, he led a group of people to this place. Without any hesitation, he directly stepped into the holy mountains and soon arrived outside the Pei family. Outside the Pei family, a group of Pei family experts trembled when they saw Lin Tian appear. Their faces were pale as they retreated. In the Battle of Maguang Wasteland, Lin Tian had beaten the sixth dimension's voice. This news had long spread throughout the sixth dimension. Naturally, the Pei family knew about it. Seeing Lin Tian, who had killed their sixth dimension's patriarch, appear in front of their door, they could not help but feel a sense of fear. They staggered back into the Pei family. Lin Tian led Wu Yi and the others into the Pei family as if they were walking on flat ground. For a moment, the entire Pei family was in a state of panic. What are you doing here? My family still has a guardian killing formation and a sixth dimension sacred weapon. Don't mess around. The Pei family was in chaos. The Pei family's patriarch and a group of supreme elders all walked out. Everyone could not help but tremble. Although they hated Lin Tian for killing their patriarch, the fear in their eyes could not be concealed. Moreover, the threats they made at this time were completely lacking in momentum. This was because, from the bottom of their hearts, they did not think that their guardian killing formation and sixth dimension sacred weapon could threaten Lin Tian. Lin Tian's performance in the Battle of Maguang Wasteland was simply too shocking. You could try the Guardian Killing Formation and 6th Dimension Sacred Weapon to see if they work. However, I advise you not to try it. Otherwise, this place may be stained with blood. Lin Tian was very calm. Your family has tried to kill me twice in an attempt to take back reincarnation. You have to pay a price. The reason I'm here today is very simple. Hand over all the ancient scriptures and cultivation resources your family has accumulated over the years, and I will turn around and leave. Otherwise, bear the consequences. As soon as he said this, the Pei family's patriarch and supreme elder's expressions changed. What did you say? Don't go too far. These people were shocked and angry. Chapter 24-24. Overboard. Lin Tian remained calm as he listened to the words of the Pei family's upper echelons. With a faint sneer, he said, "When your family tried to kill me and snatch some sorrow away from me, did you ever think of this word? Now, you're talking to me about overboard?" The Pei family's upper echelons were speechless. "You, don't waste your breath. Do as I say, and I'll leave. Otherwise, I'll personally cripple your family and take away what I want." Lin Tiandao. The Pei family's upper echelons trembled. Some of them gritted their teeth and wanted to resist, but they held themselves back in the end. A few days ago, the incident at Maguang Wasteland had shaken the entire 6th dimensional sky. Lin Tianyi's people had caused the entire 6th dimensional sky to go silent. Now, they did not dare to resist. In the end, the Pei family gave in and handed over their 6th dimensional ancient scriptures, 6th dimensional sacred weapons, Xiantian and mid-heaven artifacts, immortal pills, and worldly treasures to Lin Tian. This is really... Shui Jing Er's eyes were filled with shock. The Pei family of the 6th dimensional sky, one of the top orthodoxies of the 6 paths, had actually given in and handed over everything to Lin Tian. Too powerful. Ruo Xian snorted proudly. Her father's current might was simply too strong. He could sweep through everything. Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the others were relatively calm. There was not much change in their expressions. Lin Tian himself did not say anything. He put away the Pei family's things and beckoned Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the others to leave. He walked out of the Pei family's main gate and headed towards the Pei family's territory. The Pei family's patriarch and grand elders clenched their fists and allowed Lin Tian to leave. No one dared to stop him. It was only when Lin Tianyi's group disappeared from their sight that someone in the crowd roared in anger and humiliation. At the same time, there was a trace of sadness. Everything that their Pei clan had accumulated since ancient times was gone on this day. Everything had been taken away. Lin Tian led Wu Yi, Ji Yu, and the others out of the Pei residence. Soon, they were far away. "Daddy, where to next?" Ruoxian asked. She looked like she was about to make a move, and her beautiful big eyes were very bright. "Blissful Island." Lin Tian smiled. The 6th dimensional sky was similar to the 5th dimensional sky in that it was composed of countless stars and a vast central world. After that, he led a group of people and visited the inheritances of the Blissful Island, the chaotic Heavenly Sword Pavilion, the Sancian Sect, the vast Moon Divine Sect, the Heartless Palace, the Illusion Moon Cult, and the Cloud Howl Immortal Sect. He took all the ancient scriptures and cultivation resources of these great inheritances. During this entire process, not a single great inheritance dared to resist. Even though they were unwilling and furious, they could only submit. "I've struck gold this time." Ruoxian's eyes sparkled. "We have to thank them for their generosity," Lin Tian said with a smile. He had passed through the Pei family, the Blissful Island, the Chaotic Sky Sword Pavilion, the Sancian Sect, the vast Moon Divine Sect, the Heartless Palace, the Illusion Moon Cult, and the Cloud Howl Immortal Sect. The cultivation resources he had obtained were absolutely astonishing. Not to mention the ancient scriptures and precious weapons. Just the immortal pills and heavenly materials and earthly treasures were enough to allow all of his friends and family to step into the middle heaven realm in a very short time. As for the artifacts and ancient scriptures of the great sects, they were also priceless. They were definitely enough to increase the strength of the immortal court by tens of thousands of times in a short time. Let's go back to the fifth-dimensional sky, he said with a smile. On this day, he left the sixth-dimensional sky with Wu, Yi, Jiu, and the others, and quickly returned to the fifth-dimensional sky. After returning to the fifth-dimensional sky, he found Yin Ye. With her divination skills, he divined the whereabouts of his 9 senior brothers, Bai Ziki, Fan Xiong, and the others. Not long after, he found everyone and brought them back. In the depths of the fifth-dimensional immortal court, a group of familiar friends and family gathered together. There were many immortal brews and divine fruits on the table. Not bad, junior brother. We're proud of you. Fengshen Tianzuan looked at Lin Tian with a smile. Very powerful, primal chaos heavenly sovereigns said with a smile. The 9 heavenly sovereigns of the 10-direction sky domain had learned about Lin Tian's battle achievements from Ruoxian. They were all very happy. Senior brothers are also very powerful. Lin Tian scratched his head. Although he had become very powerful and his strength had far surpassed Fengshen Tianzuan, primal chaos heavenly sovereign, and the others, he was always very humble in front of the 9 people. These 9 people were not only his senior brothers. To him, they were like his blood brothers. Yeah. Little Taichu landed on Lin Tian's head. It could already speak human language, but it rarely spoke. Its childish voice was very cute. Master is so powerful. Yi Tong and the little fox were full of admiration. It wasn't just Fengshen Tianzuan, primal chaos heavenly sovereign, and the others. They all knew about Lin Tian's battle achievements. Powerful. Bai Ziki and Yang Qi were both relatively taciturn types, so they spoke at the same time. Yi Feng Tian sat there quietly. He didn't say anything because he knew how powerful Lin Tian was. All of this didn't surprise him. In his opinion, Lin Tian was the one who could do this. He beat up the sixth-dimensional sky domain alone. I missed that battle. What a disappointment. White Tiger shook his head vigorously. He then looked at Ling Yun and clicked his tongue. Who would have thought that a pervert like you would have someone who likes you, and even has a child? Get lost. You're the pervert. Your whole clan is perverted. Ling Yun scolded. His wife and children were still watching. I.O. pervert. You used to be called the peerless pervert duo with me. Now that you have a wife, you're kicking me aside. You can't do this. As the saying goes, a pervert has to be honest. Have you forgotten the oath we made at sunset? We agreed to lie among thousands of flowers and not live under a tree. Are you going to go back on our promise? White Tiger looked disappointed. Ling Yun's face suddenly turned red. Go away. Lin Tian looked at the two of them and couldn't help but feel very happy. Speaking of which, kid, I heard that you collected a lot of good things in the sixth-dimensional sky. Whooshing Crocodile looked at Lin Tian. Hurry up and take them out. I've been training for the past few years, and I'm so tired that I'm crying. It's more comfortable to cultivate with heavenly materials and earthly treasures. It's not troublesome at all. Lin Tian squinted at it. Look at your useless face. As he said this, he waved his hand and took out many heavenly materials and earthly treasures, immortal pills, and divine medicines. They were all intertwined with a holy light. These were not ordinary pills. On this day, he directly distributed them to everyone in this place. With these immortal pills and precious medicines, they would be able to step into the heaven stage in at most a year. Okay. Whooshing Crocodile's eyes lit up. The night passed quickly after the day's gathering. The next day, because Lin Tian gave them the immortal pills and heavenly materials and earthly treasures from the sixth-dimensional sky, everyone went into seclusion in the fifth-dimensional immortal court. They cultivated in different places in the depths of the immortal court with these immortal pills and heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Lin Tian personally guarded them and cultivated silently at the same time. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. During this year, lightning tribulations appeared in the sky above the immortal court from time to time. Among the group of people, those who had mastered the dimensional laws would attract heavenly punishment when they broke through a major realm. Then, they would go to the sea outside the immortal court to undergo the tribulation. A year later, the group of people came out of seclusion one after another. As Lin Tian had expected, They had all stepped into the heaven stage. Awesome! Whooshing Crocodile howled. In just a year, he had stepped into the early heaven stage from the peak of the Tao conversion stage. It was also on this day that ear-piercing thunder exploded in the sky above the immortal court again, and a huge lightning vortex appeared. Black lightning bolts ran rampant in it, and the destructive aura seemed to be able to annihilate everything. In this 1 year, Lin Tian had been silently guarding the group of people. He himself had also been simply cultivating and could have stepped into the Xiantian realm long ago. However, he had waited until the day when everyone had truly come out of seclusion to step into the Xiantian realm. This is monstrous. The white tiger's eyes widened. The difficulty of advancing from the Tao conversion stage to the heaven stage was almost the same as advancing from the early heaven stage to the middle heaven stage. This was because the further one went on the path of cultivation, the harder it would be to cultivate. However, now the group of people had reached the heaven stage from the Tao conversion stage or the all-creation stage with the help of countless heavenly materials and earthly treasures, while Lin Tian had advanced from the early heaven stage to the Xiantian realm. This was simply shocking. After reaching the heaven stage, Lin Tian's cultivation speed was still so fast, and he didn't rely on heavenly materials and earthly treasures at all, as expected of the descendant of those two. Who in the world can compare to him? He's only unsealed his fifth soul root. Whooshing Crocodile sucked in a breath of cold air. Originally, before unsealing his soul root, Lin Tian was already very strong and terrifying, and he had always been able to crush his peers. But now Lin Tian was even stronger. His strength was simply at a level that they couldn't comprehend. Rubble. In the boundless sea outside the immortal court of the fifth dimension, rolling thunder rumbled, and the aura of the lightning tribulation shook heaven and earth. Lin Tian stood under the heavenly tribulation, and he didn't fear it at all. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Lightning tribulation struck down one after another, and the ancestral Lord Sea domain was completely shrouded in darkness. After a total of 1,800 rounds of lightning tribulation, this Xiantian level heavenly tribulation finally stopped. This caused the group of people to choke with shock. He was only in the Xiantian realm, and Lin Tian had already attracted close to 2,000 waves of lightning punishment. After this, when he reached the tribulation and tribulation realms, what kind of scene would the lightning punishment be? That old drunkard said that in the 1,000 tribulations realm, every time one steps up a small step, they will trigger 1,000 waves of lightning punishment. This grandpa who reckons that when that time comes, this kid will trigger at least 10,000 waves of lightning punishment. When he reaches the tribulation realm, I'm afraid it will increase by several times. The white tiger muttered, "Hey, tiger, don't make wild guesses. Isn't it scary?" Fan Yingxiong glared at the white tiger. 10,000 rounds of lightning tribulation, tens of thousands of rounds of lightning tribulation. What kind of destructive scene would that be? Just thinking about it was enough to make one shudder. In the ancestral Lord Sea domain, after the Xiantian level lightning tribulation dispersed, 7-colored auspicious clouds appeared. Lin Tian stood alone in the ancestral Lord Sea domain, using the 7-colored auspicious clouds to refine and stabilize his realm. When the 7-colored auspicious clouds dispersed, his Xiantian level cultivation base was completely stabilized. Chapter 24-25. Now, after more than a year, Lin Tian had reached the Xiantian realm and decided to go to the 6th dimension to establish a new immortal court. His plan was to spread the immortal court all the way to the 9th dimension. At this stage, he no longer had any opponents in the 6th dimension. Now that he had intimidated the entire 6th dimension, it was definitely a very good opportunity to establish a new immortal court in the 6th dimension. Moreover, his cultivation had reached the Xiantian realm. Now, he could unlock the 6th seal on his soul root. There was no doubt that unsealing the soul root was best done in the 6th dimension, where the Holy Spirit Qi was much denser than in the 5th dimension. Hearing his words, the group naturally had no objections. On this day, He tore open the heaven and earth gate that led to the sixth dimension in the depths of the fifth dimension immortal court and brought Wui, his 9 senior brothers, by Ziki, and the rest to the sixth dimension. In the sixth dimension, the immortal mountains and divine mountains were far more amazing than in the fifth dimension. Fengshen Tianzuan and the others, as well as by Ziki, Yangqi, and the others, all couldn't help but be moved when they first arrived. Originally, the Holy Spirit Qi in the fifth dimension was enough to surprise them, but the sixth dimension was even more shocking. No wonder the cultivators in the upper dimension are all so powerful and terrifying. The Holy Spirit Qi in the air is really exaggerated. How can it not be strong? As for the offspring of such a powerful being, how could their bloodline not be astonishing? Wuxing Crocodile sighed. Compared to them, the starting point of the creatures in the upper dimension was so high that they couldn't be compared at all. It's no big deal. We'll fight our way to the top step by step. Lin Tian Ondao. The white tiger nodded and paused for a moment before saying, "Speaking of which, your growth experience is quite interesting. Others walk out of their homeland and fight their way to the outside world step by step. You, on the other hand, fight your way back to your homeland step by step from the outside world." It knew Lin Tian's background. Strictly speaking, Lin Tian was a creature from the ninth dimension, and the ninth dimension was his first homeland. Now, Lin Tian was fighting his way from the fourth dimension to the ninth dimension. Wasn't he fighting his way back to his homeland step by step? Lin Tian. He rolled his eyes and said, "I'll find a good place to release the sixth seal of the soul root first, and then build the immortal court." As he spoke, he led the group of people away from this place. Not long after, they found a relatively good place. The Holy Spirit Qi, intertwined in the surrounding air, was extremely dense. After the group of people retreated a bit further, they started to unseal the soul root. In just an instant, the sixth seal on his soul root was broken. Boom! Within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers, surging spiritual energy and Tao power crazily swept over. An endless amount of spiritual power instantly drowned him. In this place, for a time, even the sky changed color. Terrifying phenomena appeared one after another, spreading out in all directions. This is really the 5 elements alligator sucked in a breath of cold air. This was the first time it had witnessed the scene of Lin Tian unsealing the soul root. That scene was simply too magnificent. Hurricanes intertwined, an endless spiritual energy and Tao power of heaven and earth automatically surged over. That scene was simply too impactful. At the same time, Fengshen Tianzuan and the others were also moved. It was also the first time they saw Lin Tian unsealing the soul root. Back then, an old drunkard said that every time he unsealed a seal on the soul root, his potential would skyrocket. Moreover, in a short period of time after unsealing the soul root, he would attract endless spiritual energy and Tao power within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers. So this is how it is. This scene, Ling Yun trembled. Boom! Spiritual energy and Tao power surged over and poured into Lin Tian's body. Lin Tian immediately activated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and quickly refined the spiritual energy and Tao power. He merged it into his flesh and blood to improve his cultivation. At the same time, he also cultivated seriously and attracted more spiritual energy and Tao power. Suddenly, his essence, energy, and spirit became stronger rapidly, and his cultivation also improved rapidly. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, 8 days had passed. Boom! 8 days later. On this day, the sky exploded, and a huge lightning vortex appeared. F***CK. I'm already in the sixth dimension? It's only been 8 days. This Lord Tiger is really... The white tiger couldn't help but curse. This cultivation was too easy, right? In just 8 days, he had reached the sixth dimension from the early stage of the Xiantian realm. Boom! The sky exploded, and ear-piercing thunder followed. The huge lightning vortex appeared horizontally, and darkness shrouded the surroundings in the blink of an eye. The destructive aura became more and more terrifying. Retreat further. Fengshen Tianzuan said in a deep voice, and the group retreated further. Lin Tian's sixth dimension, heavenly tribulation, descended. The destructive aura was too strong, and they were not far away from Lin Tian. Once they were affected, they would be in trouble. Soon, the group retreated more than 10,000 kilometers before stopping. It was also at this time that Lin Tian felt that they had retreated far enough. He completely released his aura and began to transcend the tribulation. Boom! 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 Lightning tribulation struck one after another, turning the area into a sea of lightning tribulation. Facing such lightning tribulation, Lin Tian was not afraid. He called back the samsara sword and helped him transcend the tribulation, tempering it once again. In the blink of an eye, a total of 3,000 lightning tribulations had struck down. Only then did the sixth dimension, heavenly tribulation, dissipate. In Lin Tian's solitary field, 7-colored auspicious clouds appeared, and balls of 7-colored holy radiance descended, enveloping him. He used the holy radiance to refine and stabilize his current sixth dimension realm. At the same time, with a slight thought, the shattered samsara sword reformed, and its sword aura became even sharper than before. Soon, 15 minutes passed, and the 7-colored auspicious clouds disappeared. Lin Tian's sixth dimension realm cultivation had completely stabilized. At this moment, he looked inside his body. His life force origin was brighter, his holy energy was more majestic, and his spirit was more powerful. Most importantly, with the release of the sixth seal on his soul root, he could clearly feel the changes in himself. His ability to understand the principles of heaven and earth had improved qualitatively. Moreover, when he was not actively cultivating, the spiritual energy that automatically surged into his body between heaven and earth was much faster than before. There was no doubt that the current him would cultivate faster than before. Furthermore, as his strength increased, the three-dimensional heaven and earth in his body became stronger as well. This was something that he who controlled the three-dimensional world could feel very clearly. He was naturally very satisfied with this, and strands of deep light interweaved within his eyes. He paused for a moment, and with a slight thought, the samsara sword returned to his body. At this time, whooshing sounds could be heard. Wu-yi-ji-yu Little Taichu Whooshing Crocodile, Yang-chi, by Ziki, Fengshen Tianzuan, Primal Chaos Celestial, and the others had all arrived. Freak, freak! White Tiger couldn't help but shake his head. Other than this, he really couldn't find any other words to describe Lin Tian. The others also spoke one after another, and their eyes were filled with amazement. The current Lin Tian was really too amazing. Compared to them, they were no longer living beings on the same level. Lin Tianan smiled and didn't have much of a reaction. After a pause, he left the place with the group. Let's find a suitable place to establish our sect, he said. The sixth dimension was very vast, and the Saint Spirit Chi in the air was much denser than in the fifth dimension. However, since he wanted to establish his sect in the sixth dimension, he naturally had to find a relatively good place in the sixth dimension. Fortunately, among their group, his fourth senior brother, Celestial Venerable Dragon Zonglong, created the Dragon Burial Scripture, and he himself also cultivated it, so he was very good at the path of the earth veins. In addition, Shui Jing was very familiar with the sixth dimension. Therefore, it didn't take long for them to find a very amazing place in the sixth dimension. Endless earth veins were intertwined, and the Saint Spirit Chi in the air was majestic and terrifying. It was more than 10 times more amazing than the places where the Pei clan and the other top 6 orthodoxies in the sixth dimension were established. It was the most suitable place to establish the sixth dimension celestial court. Then, the group of people set out at the same time, setting up immortal palaces and floating islands. Then, Lin Tianan personally engraved defensive arrays and other things. It took him about a month to complete the construction of the sixth dimension celestial court, and it was extremely glorious. Then, on this day, he personally sent out hundreds of thousands of divine consciousness imprints to the entire sixth dimension to announce the establishment of the sixth dimension celestial court. He also recruited disciples of the celestial court from all over the sixth dimension. Anyone who was benevolent and righteous could join the celestial court, and there were several sixth dimension ancient scriptures and many great arts for them to cultivate. For a moment, the entire sixth dimension was in an uproar. Is it the man from more than a year ago? He created an inheritance? The celestial court? Regardless of aptitude, as long as one is benevolent and righteous, they can join? Is that true? There are several sixth dimension ancient scriptures, and anyone who joins the celestial court can cultivate them. In the sixth dimension, the cultivators were shocked. Then, in the next moment, the cultivators in the entire sixth dimension began to move one after another. In every corner, cultivators quickly rushed toward the location of the sixth dimension celestial court created by Lin Tiantan. A year ago, he fought alone until he lost his voice in the sixth dimension. How amazing was the potential of an inheritance created by such a person. Moreover, this inheritance did not care about aptitude. As long as one was benevolent and righteous, they could join. At the same time, after joining, they could cultivate the sixth dimension ancient scriptures without any restrictions. How bold was this? This attracted the attention of countless cultivators in the sixth dimension. After a short period of time, the location of the sixth dimension celestial court set up by Lin Tiantan was filled with cultivators rushing there. I want to join. Please let me join. The weakest cultivators of the sixth dimension were in the Hotian realm, and their eyes were all shining. Chapter 24-26. The crowd was surging, and the place where the sixth-dimensional immortal court was established was bustling with activity. On this day, the establishment of the sixth-dimensional immortal court could be said to be very successful, just like the grand occasion in the fifth heaven. In just one day, more than 20 billion cultivators joined the sixth-dimensional immortal court. Among them, the weakest was in the Hotian realm, and the strongest was even at the peak of the Xiantian realm. Their combined strength surpassed any inheritance in the history of the sixth-dimensional immortal court. It wasn't until a few days later that this grand occasion gradually calmed down. Yi Fengtian came along, Snow Wolf, Yi Tong, and the little fox were also present. Lin Tian handed over all the matters of the sixth-dimensional immortal court to the four of them. They were in charge of the new immortal soldiers and generals, and also established thousands of immortal court branches in the sixth-dimensional immortal court. These immortal court branches were responsible for collecting all kinds of information and cultivation resources in the sixth-dimensional immortal court. A month later, the sixth-dimensional immortal court was completely on the right track. Lin Tian was very satisfied with this. He was the one who established the immortal court. Watching the immortal court grow step by step, he naturally felt a sense of pride. Daddy, are you preparing to go to the seven-dimensional immortal court? A month later, Ruoxian hugged Lin Tian's arm and asked. It's about time. Lin Tian smiled and said, Oh, before that, let's relax a little. Let's take a walk in the sixth-dimensional immortal court. Now that he had reached the sixth-dimensional immortal court, he could already tear open the heaven and earth gate in the sixth-dimensional immortal court and enter the seven-dimensional immortal court. However, he wasn't in a hurry at this time. He wanted to take Ruoxian and Wu Yi with him for a simple walk in the sixth-dimensional immortal court. This could be considered a kind of relaxation, and at the same time, it was also a way for him to accompany his family. After all, after entering the seven-dimensional immortal court from the sixth-dimensional immortal court, who knew how many years would pass before they could see each other again? Okay. Ruoxian was naturally happy. Lin Tiantan smiled. On this day, he brought his precious daughter and Wu Yi out of the sixth-dimensional immortal court. They walked around the sixth-dimensional immortal court as if they were on a vacation. They walked around the corners of the sixth-dimensional immortal court with Wu Yi and Ji Yu. At the same time, he was also comprehending reincarnation from time to time during this process. This was because his comprehension of reincarnation had become much stronger after the 6 seals of his soul root had been unsealed. Occasionally, he would gain insights on reincarnation. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. He, Wu, Yi, Jiu, and the others walked through many corners of the sixth dimension. On this day, a boundless energy suddenly surged out from his body. His essence, energy, and spirit instantly became much stronger. "Father, your cultivation has increased again?" Ruoxian glared at him. "Oh, middle sixth dimension," Lin Tiantan said with a smile. During this year, he only comprehended reincarnation from time to time and did not cultivate at all. However, after unsealing the 6 seals of his soul root, the rich saint spirit chi in the 6th-dimensional immortal court would automatically flow into his body at a much faster speed than before. This caused his essence, energy, spirit, and cultivation to constantly increase. Therefore, after a year, his cultivation had increased from the early 6th dimension to the middle 6th dimension. At the same time, during this process, after unsealing the 6 seals of his soul root, he also comprehended reincarnation from time to time and made great achievements in reincarnation. Now, he had mastered 20% of reincarnation. After this, he believed that as he seriously comprehended, it would not be long before he could master 30% of reincarnation. In fact, after the soul root in his body had its 6 seals undone, his potential had undergone an extremely shocking and drastic change. It was much stronger than when the soul root had its 5 seals undone. It was as if the difference between heaven and earth was enormous. "You are really abnormal." Sushu rolled her eyes. He clearly did not take the initiative to cultivate, but in a year, he actually went from the early 6th dimension to the middle 6th dimension. Even Wu Yi could not help but be slightly moved. The current Lin Tiantan was really too frightening. "Your soul root is too terrifying. You have only unsealed 6 seals. If you unseal all of them, then..." Bai Qiu could not help but tremble. She did not dare to imagine how terrifying Lin Tiantan would be after he unsealed all the seals on his soul root. At that time, he would probably be like Wu Yi's Order Divine ability. He would truly be the only one in the world. Ruoxian's big eyes were very bright. She hugged Lin Tiantan's arm and was full of worship. Then she asked, "Then, Daddy, when will you be able to unseal the 7th seal that Grandpa left on your soul root?" After hearing her question, Jiu, Bai Qiu, Shui, Sushu, Violet Fairy, and the others all looked at Lin Tiantan. Even Wu Yi was no exception. They were indeed curious about this. After the 6th dimension, there is the Silent Void Realm, Solitary God Realm, Silent Soul Realm, 7th dimension. Lin Tiantan made a rough estimate and said, "Oh, basically, after reaching the Silent Soul Realm, I can unseal the 7th seal on my soul root normally." He was surrounded by a small forest, a very ordinary forest. He talked to them while walking into the distance. Soon, another month had passed. He brought Wu Yi and the others back to the 6th dimension immortal court. Then, in the next few days, Fengshen Tianzun, the primal chaos celestial, Yang Qi, Bai Ziki, Wuxing Crocodile, Little Taichu Yifeng Tian, Yitong the Little Fox, and Snow Wolf all came back from their training. Everyone knew that Lin Tiantan would soon enter the 7th dimension. Everyone rushed back to see him off. Soon, 7 days had passed. 7 days later. On this day, Lin Tiantan was preparing to leave for the 7th dimension. On this day, he temporarily bid farewell to the group. On this day, the group still said the same thing to Lin Tiantan, safety first. At the same time, this time, still, no one wanted to enter the 7th dimension with Lin Tiantan. This was because the difference in strength between them and Lin Tiantan was too great. "If you're tired, come back and rest," Wu Yi said gently. Lin Tiantan smiled and nodded. He chatted with Wu Yi for a long time. Then, he said goodbye to the group again. Then, he directly tore open the heaven and earth gate in the depths of the 6th dimension immortal court. He stepped into it and disappeared from the 6th dimension. The heaven and earth gate that led to the 7th dimension was dark inside. He could not feel anything. It was very oppressive. After an unknown period of time, light appeared in front of him. He fell out of the heaven and earth tunnel and stepped on solid ground again. Looking around, there were mountains of immortal mountains. Each of them towered into the sky. The Holy Spirit chi was extremely astonishing. It was far from what the sixth dimension could compare with. Looking at the mountains of immortal mountains around him and feeling the rich Holy Spirit chi in the air, his eyes could not help but shine. I'm here. The seventh dimension. Boom! Suddenly, an astonishing Holy Spirit chi rumbled in front of him, interrupting his muttering. Looking around, there was a large road not far away. On both sides were relatively empty. An old man in a cloth robe was carrying a 6-year-old boy on his back. He was covered in blood and had been severely injured. Even his steps were a little staggered, and his aura was extremely weak. Behind him were dozens of cultivators. All of them had extraordinary auras and were powerful existences at the solitary god realm. Many cultivators were walking back and forth on the road. Seeing this scene, they were all shocked and quickly retreated, afraid that they would be affected. That's the descendant of a desolate saint? It seems like it is. The eyes of the cultivators were all on the 6-year-old boy behind the old man in a cloth robe. Looking at the dozens of people chasing after the old man and the little boy, their eyes were very complicated. Boom! Astonishing Holy Spirit chi was vast and mighty. The dozens of solitary god realm experts were chasing after the old man, and each of them swept out killing lights. You can't escape, one of them said coldly. These dozens of people were dressed differently. As they chased after the old man, they were also vigilant of the others. Obviously, these dozens of people were not together. Boom! Majestic Holy Spirit chi vibrated, and mixed with the power of killing, it violently sent the old man flying. His aura was extremely weak in an instant. The little boy on his back was thrown out by the vibration, but he quickly raised his hand to pull him back. The dozens of people stepped forward and quickly rushed toward the old man. Their eyes were all on the little boy that the old man pulled back to protect. At the same time, they were even more vigilant of the others. The old man struggled, wanting to stand up and continue to run with the little boy, but at this moment, he could not stand up. His strength was at its lowest. For a moment, there was deep despair, self-blame, and grief on his face. Lord Desolate Saint, do you see? Back then, you single-handedly forced the 3 ferocious ancient clans that wreaked havoc in the 7th dimension to retreat to the forbidden ancient demon region and seal it away. They fought to the death for the 7th dimension. After so many years, your direct descendant was targeted because he awakened your desolate heaven bloodline, and his family was completely wiped out. This old servant can no longer protect the young master. This old servant is useless. Tears streamed down the old man's face as he looked at the dozens of people charging at him. His eyes were filled with hatred. Lin Tian was in the distance. He had seen the old man carrying the little boy being chased, but he did not care. After all, it had nothing to do with him. He was already far away, and he had already walked far away. However, at this moment, when he heard the old man's words that were filled with grief and hatred, he could not help but be moved, and he stopped in his tracks. At the same time, the dozens of people who were chasing after the old man got closer. Their eyes were cold and emotionless, and they only stared at the little boy that the old man was protecting. At the same time, they were wary of each other. The others all reached out to grab the little boy. The old man in the BU robe was in despair. He hugged the little boy tightly. I'm sorry, young master. This old servant could not protect you well. Saint energy intertwined into a hurricane. The dozens of people stared at the little boy. Their large hands intertwined with boundless saint light, and in the blink of an eye, they were close to him. Clang! Suddenly, the sound of a sword was ear-piercing. A blinding sword ray slashed down, as if it had fallen from an eternal, unknown place. It was sharp and terrifying. Lin Tian made his move. The three-dimensional world in his body shook, and the rich power of heaven and earth condensed into a sword of heaven and earth in his hand. With a swing of the sword, it enveloped the dozens of people. At the same time, he took a step forward and appeared in front of the old man in the BU robe in the next moment. He slashed the sword in front of the old man again, and the sword momentum became even sharper. It pressed down on the dozens of people with the previous sword. The dozens of people were shocked at the same time. They immediately stopped and quickly dodged, avoiding the two sharp sword rays. Who is it? After dodging Lin Tian's two slashes, the dozens of people's eyes fell on Lin Tian, and there was a chill in their eyes. Chapter 24-27. Seeing that they were about to be in trouble, the linen-robed old man did not expect that someone would step forward to help them. Before this, he had been on the run for far too long, and no one had ever thought of helping him. The 6-year-old boy was being protected by the old man, and his delicate face was filled with shock and fear. At this moment, his eyes also fell on Lin Tian. "Kid, how dare you stop us? Do you want to die?" The dozens of people looked at Lin Tian with cold eyes. They were about to seize the boy and obtain the desolate heaven bloodline. But now, someone had stepped in to stop them. They looked at Lin Tian with cold, murderous intent in their eyes, but they did not make a move for the time being. This was because the sword of light in Lin Tian's hand made their hearts palpitate for no reason, and they felt an extremely strong sense of horror. Lin Tian looked at the dozens of people and said coldly, "Get lost." He did not know the linen-robed old man or the boy, but the linen-robed old man's words had moved him. The boy was the descendant of a hero who had once protected the seven-dimensional world, but now he was being treated like this by the people of this world. It felt like the descendant of a martyr on the Milky Way Imperial planet was being humiliated by a group of hooligans, and it was really unbearable. Therefore, even if he did not know the linen-robed old man and the boy, and was not even a person of this seven-dimensional world, he still could not help but help at this time. They did not deserve to be treated like this. When the dozens of people heard this, their faces turned even colder, and all of them revealed even colder murderous intent. "You're courting death." Some of the dozens of people immediately attacked. Although they were wary of the sword in Lin Tian's hand and could feel the terrifying aura, they were very concerned about the boy who had the desolate heaven bloodline, and directly cast a saint technique to suppress Lin Tian. Then, the others also attacked, and majestic killing aura pressed down on Lin Tian at the same time, sealing off all directions. Little brother, be careful." The linen-robed old man could not help but speak, and his voice was extremely weak. Lin Tian's back was facing the linen-robed old man, and he faced the dozens of people head-on. His eyes were still cold, and the sword of heaven and earth in his hand became even brighter, as more power of the three-dimensional world poured into it. Then, he directly slashed at the dozens of people. After obtaining the three-dimensional world and branding of the foundation of time, nearly 3 years had passed, and the three-dimensional world had completed a qualitative transformation to become much stronger. Then, as he stepped into the six-dimensional world, the three-dimensional world in his body, there was no doubt that, and now he could mobilize the power of the world within him to invincible under the Silent Soul realm. Clang! Sword whistles rumbled, shaking the sky. With a sizzling sound, the saint-killing lights unleashed by dozens of people were all shattered in an instant. Then, the sword, and its momentum to the dozens of peoples to kill, to the dozens of people to kill. Puff! Pooh! Pooh! Immediately, a bloody mist exploded. The dozen or so people who were charging at the front were instantly killed in both body and soul. Lin of the people to the side of A's, to B to the side, with a person with the people with a strong, that light sort of is, what is it? He's only in the six-dimensional realm, but with one sword strikey. These people were shocked. After the six-dimensional realm, there was the Silent Void realm, Solitary God realm, Silent Soul realm, seventh-dimensional realm. Lin Tian was clearly only in the six-dimensional realm, and these people could feel it, but at this time, he killed dozens of Solitary God realm experts with one sword strike, killing enemies with a gap of 2 realms. What kind of feeling was this? At the same time, the linen-robed old man was also shocked and pleasantly surprised. He was shocked because Lin Tian's battle prowess was too strong, and he could easily kill Solitary God realm experts with his six-dimensional realm cultivation. He was also happy because Lin Tian, who helped them, was so strong. Today, the descendant of the Desolate Saint would not be in trouble. The 6-year-old boy looked at Lin Tian, and the fear on his face lessened a lot. Looking at Lin Tian's back, he couldn't help but have a look of worship in his eyes. The dozens of people who were chasing after the old man and the little boy, as well as those who were still alive, couldn't help but be horrified. "You? Who exactly are you?" Someone looked at Lin Tian with fear and asked. The others also looked at Lin Tian, and for a moment, they didn't move. Lin Tian's sword strike was too terrifying. Lin Tian looked at the people who were still alive, and he raised the sword of heaven and earth in his hand and slashed down even more fiercely. These people were definitely not good people, and he didn't need to show mercy to them. Clang! The ear-piercing sword whistled, and the speed of the sword was extremely fast. The surging sword engulfed the remaining people. In the next moment, the blood mist exploded, and the people who were still alive died in the blink of an eye. Blood had dyed the ground red. In the distance, a group of people on the main road saw this scene and couldn't help but be shocked. With his 6th-dimensional realm cultivation, he killed dozens of solitary god realm experts with just 2 sword strikes. This was simply too shocking. That sword, what exactly is it? These people could see that the reason Lin Tian could kill dozens of solitary god experts so easily was all because of the sword in his hand. Lin Tian could naturally feel the group of cultivators looking at him. He could feel their shock and surprise, but he didn't care. He turned to look at the cloth-robed old man and the 6-year-old boy. Little brother, thank you. Thank you. The cloth-robed old man knelt down in front of Lin Tian and kowtowed shakily to Lin Tian. His voice was intermittent, and it was weaker than before. Lin Tian hurriedly stopped him. "Uncle, please don't do this." He really felt that he couldn't bear such an old man kowtowing to him. He bent down and pulled the old man up. "Big brother, thank you. You're so strong." The 6-year-old boy raised his head and looked at Lin Tian. His little face was filled with gratitude, and his eyes were filled with worship. Then, he looked at the old man. The fear from before had completely disappeared, replaced by a look of surprise. "Grandpa Zhou, we're saved." The cloth-robed old man's surname was Zhou, and his face was full of wrinkles. He looked at the little boy and nodded excitedly with a smile. Suddenly, his body trembled violently, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The little boy was shocked. He looked at the old man and panicked. "Grandpa Zhou, what happened to you, Grandpa Zhou?" Lin Tian crouched down, and 9-colored Saint Power surged out and enveloped the cloth-robed old man. A moment later, he frowned slightly. The old man's life, origin, and soul were all cracked and were collapsing irreversibly. There was no way to reverse the situation. At most, he would die in a few dozen breaths. No one could save him. "Grandpa Zhou! Grandpa Zhou!" The little boy kept calling. "No, young master, this old servant is fine." The old man was covered in blood, and blood was flowing out of his mouth. His pale face had an extremely forced smile. He trembled as he touched the little boy, and then looked at Lin Tian. Little brother, young master's surname is Mu Chun, is his Lord Desolate Saint's descendant. Once Lord Desolate Saint refined one of the 7 dimensions laws, the Desolate Heaven laws, into his body, fusing them into his blood essence, and formed the Desolate Heaven bloodline. Young Master Mu Chun felt awaken Lord Desolate Saint's Desolate Heaven bloodline. As long as he grows up normally, he will be able to control the Desolate Heaven laws in 10 years. The news of young Master awakening the Desolate Heaven bloodline was leaked. Many people came to fight for it. Because as long as you use a special method to exchange blood and refine the origin, you can obtain the Desolate Heaven bloodline and control the Desolate Heaven laws. Lord Desolate Saint did not establish a large clan back then, so there were few people. The clan became weaker and weaker and could not stop those people. They all died. Only this old servant brought young master and escaped. This old servant can't take it anymore. The old man's voice was getting weaker and weaker. He was stuttering and could no longer speak clearly. He looked at Lin Tian with a pleading expression. Little brother, I beg you to look at Lord Desolate Saint for the sake of protecting this land, sacrificing his life. Please, please take care of young Master Muchen. Lin Tian was silent. He paused for a moment and nodded. In front of him, the little boy's ancestor had sacrificed his life for the 7 dimensions. He used his life to protect the land and all living things. There was no doubt that he was a true sage. How could he abandon the descendant of a sage? Even if he was not a person of this land, even if he would cause trouble for him in the future. Seeing Lin Tian nod in agreement, the old man trembled. His pale face revealed joy. Thank you. As he spoke, he looked at little Muchen. Young master, in the future, you have to listen to this. As he spoke, the old man trembled violently, and another mouthful of blood gushed out from his mouth. The luster of life in his eyes dissipated in the blink of an eye. Grandpa Zhou! What happened to you, Grandpa Zhou? Little Muchen suddenly became anxious. His little hand grabbed the old man's sleeve, and he could not stop trembling. Tears fell from his big eyes. Wake up, Grandpa Zhou! Wake up! Lin Tian sighed. Although little Muchen was only 6 years old, he was not an ordinary mortal child. He was the descendant of a powerful cultivator. Therefore, at this time, how could he not see that the old man had died? It was just difficult to accept. Let him rest in peace. He said, No, Grandpa Zhou is not dead. No. Little Muchen shouted loudly, pulling the old man's sleeve. Tears kept falling from his big eyes, and he was heartbroken. His parents had passed away 2 years ago. It was the old man who had been taking care of him. Now he had died. Lin Tian knew that little Muchen was very sad, so he did not say anything and did not comfort him. How could he comfort him at this time? It would be better to let the little guy cry completely. Grandpa Zhou, don't die. Don't. Little Muchen threw himself on the old man and kept crying. Chapter 24-28. There were many celestial mountains near the main road, and the Saint Spirit Chi was very dense. Lin Tian brought little Muchen into one of the mountains. Ew! Roar! Between the celestial mountains, the roars of beasts shook the sky, and the demonic chi was extremely dense. In the blink of an eye, a powerful 6th-dimensional realm demonic beast pounced towards them. However, just as it was about to pounce, the powerful 6th-dimensional realm demonic beast trembled violently and fell to the ground like a frightened puppy. It was frightened by the powerful pressure that naturally surrounded his body, and it didn't dare to move. He didn't pay any attention to the trembling demonic beast. He walked through the mountains and soon found a small valley. There were many green plants in the valley, and it was very quiet. He walked into the valley and placed little Muchen on a big rock in the valley, then sat quietly to the side. Time passed little by little. Soon, half a day had passed, and little Muchen woke up from his coma. Grandpa Zhou, the little guy seemed to be having a nightmare. The moment he woke up, he stood up abruptly and said these 3 words. Lin Tian stood to the side and watched the little guy wake up. He handed a space ceramic container to the little guy. The container was about 1 inch tall. Without needing him to say anything, the little guy immediately trembled and understood that it contained the old man's ashes. He trembled and took the container, tears dripping down his face as he tightly hugged the inch-tall container. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He let the little guy cry and quietly stood to the side. Soon, 7 days passed. During these 7 days, the little guy hugged the space containing the old man's ashes. At first, he kept crying, but when his tears dried up, he was in a daze. He hugged the space container and shrank to the side, as if he had lost himself. Lin Tian looked at the little fellow in silence. At the same time, he was also moved by something else. This little fellow did not have a shred of cultivation base, and in the past 7 days, he had not eaten a single drop of water or any food, yet he was still alive and well. He knew that this might be because the 7th-dimensional spirit dimension was higher, but more importantly, it was related to the little guy's desolate heaven bloodline. After awakening that bloodline, Even if the little guy hadn't stepped on the path of cultivation, he could already survive without eating or drinking. Time passed bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days passed. 7 days later, on this day, the dullness in little Moo Chin's eyes dissipated a lot, and tears dripped down his cheeks. Immediately, the little fellow wiped away her tears, walked down from the big rock, and knelt down in front of Lin Tian. Please enlighten me on my cultivation." The little guy hugged the space container that contained the old man's ashes and pressed his forehead against the ground. In fact, there were ancient scriptures passed down in the clan, but after the clan was destroyed, the ancient scriptures passed down had been taken away. Lin Tian had roughly guessed this as well. He raised his right hand slightly, and a gentle saint power lifted the little one up. He looked at the little fellow, a 6-year-old child with tear stains on his cheeks and determination in his eyes. At the same time, it was filled with hatred. Regarding this, he didn't say anything. His family had been annihilated, and the elders who had always taken care of him had died tragically in order to protect him. Who wouldn't have hatred in their hearts? Back then, when he was only 5 years old, he had already shouldered a similar hatred. He naturally understood the feelings of the little fellow. He understood very well. He raised his hand, and a 9-colored saint light enveloped the little fellow. A moment later, he discovered that the little fellow's bloodline was really incomparably powerful. Generally speaking, a 6-year-old child was not suitable for cultivation. If they insisted on cultivating, they would need special guidance. However, the little fellow's powerful bloodline made his physical body as strong as a great path cultivator's. There was no need for any guidance at all, and he could cultivate at this age. After a pause, he pointed his sword finger at the little fellow's forehead and passed the chaotic heavens sword scripture to the little fellow. This ancient scripture was an ancient scripture passed down in the chaotic heavens sword pavilion in the 6th-dimensional world. It was a 6th-dimensional ancient scripture, and it contained cultivation techniques, mysterious movement techniques, and many wonderful killing sword techniques. It was definitely a good ancient scripture for cultivation and was suitable for the little fellow to cultivate. At the same time, he used his powerful divine thought to personally demonstrate the various great path ancient techniques to the little fellow, so that the little fellow could understand it faster. As for the little fellow, with the support of the desolate heaven bloodline, his comprehension ability was naturally astonishing. He quickly integrated the entire ancient scripture and began to circulate the chaotic heavens ancient scripture on his own to cultivate, causing the surrounding saint's spirit chi to surge towards him. Then his essence, energy, and cultivation began to rise steadily. In the blink of an eye, he had stepped into the body refinement realm, breaking all the way into the 9th heaven of body refinement realm. At the same time, his bloodline boiled, and a thick dark gray saint light intertwined from his bloodline, causing the surrounding space to distort. Moreover, there was even a faint desolate great world that appeared behind him. Desolate heaven laws. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed, and a wisp of light intertwined. As the little fellow began to cultivate, his desolate heaven bloodline began to boil, and the desolate heaven laws contained in his bloodline began to intertwine. It seemed that he would soon be able to control them. He couldn't help but be moved. Back then, the desolate saint was really amazing. He had refined the desolate heaven laws into every inch of his flesh, blood, origin source, spirit, and blood essence, turning them into the desolate heaven bloodline. After the later generations awakened this bloodline and embarked on the path of cultivation, they could directly guide the power of the laws contained in their bloodline. It was simply terrifying. Little fellow, don't cultivate for the time being. Focus on comprehending the power of the dark gray saint light that is gushing out from your bloodline, he said to little Mu Chun. At the same time, his eyes intertwined with light. He guided the desolate heaven laws in little Mu Chin's bloodline so that the little fellow could more easily comprehend them. He also fixed his eyes on the dark gray saint light that was gushing out from little Mu Chin's body. Time flew by, and an hour passed. Strands of dark gray saint light intertwined outside his body. This made little Mu Chin's body tremble violently, while he was comprehending the desolate heaven laws in his bloodline. This was clearly the desolate heaven laws. Don't be distracted, Lin Tian said, continuing to guide the desolate heaven bloodline for the little fellow. Soon, 3 days passed. During these 3 days, he had been guiding the desolate heaven laws in little Mu Chen's bloodline. He only stopped when the little fellow was able to comprehend them on his own. He pushed the little fellow to the side of a large rock and sat down, allowing the little fellow to comprehend the power on his own. Sitting by the large rock, strands of dark gray light surrounded his body, causing the surrounding space to sizzle. Seven-dimensional world, outside, failed. Immortal palaces and divine pavilions were laid out horizontally. In an ancient palace, a middle-aged man smashed an ancient wooden table with a bang. In the large ancient palace, there was a silent soul-class pressure intertwined, and the aura was terrifying. We investigated. We were about to succeed, but we were stopped by a young man. There were more than 10 people in the palace. They projected a divine sense imprint with Lin Tian's appearance on it. This person's cultivation is not high. It is said that he is only in the 6th-dimensional realm, but he seems to be in control of an extremely terrifying saint sword. It was by relying on that sword that he was able to kill all the people sent by my clan with his 6th-dimensional realm cultivation. The people from other clans were also killed. Half a month ago, when Lin Tian killed the dozens of people who had chased after Old Man Zhou and Little Mu Chun, there were many cultivators on the nearby main road who had seen that scene. After that, the matter naturally spread out. A 6th-dimensional realm cultivator who can easily kill solitary god realm experts with a single artifact. The middle-aged man's eyes flickered, and a cold light intertwined within them. He opened his mouth and said coldly, "Go investigate. Find him for me." With a 6th-dimensional realm cultivation, he could easily kill dozens of solitary god realm experts with just a single saint sword. What kind of feeling was this? There was still the solitary god realm in between. In that case, the Sex Saint Sword was at least a silent soul class artifact. Their clan only had one such artifact, and its value was immeasurable. Once they found Lin Tian and seized it, their clan's strength would definitely increase greatly. Moreover, the descendant of the Desolate Saint, in his opinion, should be the same as Lin Tianyi. As long as they found Lin Tian, it would mean that Deng Ruo had found the descendant of the Desolate Saint and found the Desolate Heaven bloodline. Yes, the 10 people in the palace immediately retreated and then led many experts into the clan's residence. At the same time, in the other 6 regions of the 7th dimension, many experts from different clans and sects stepped out one after another and disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. In the valley of the Celestial Mountain, Lin Tian casually sat on a large rock in the valley. Dark gray strands of saint light surrounded his body, and as time passed, it became thicker and thicker. Then, a desolate, illusory world appeared behind him. It was barren inside, and yellow sand was everywhere. Even the scorching sun in the sky was covered and shrouded by dark clouds. It seemed illusory, but it also seemed real. It was mixed with an extremely dense power of law that seemed to be able to turn everything into a barren land. Then, in the next moment, the dark gray light around his body dissipated. Very strong, he muttered to himself, and a light flashed in his eyes. He had helped Little Mu Chun to guide his desolate heaven bloodline. Seeing the desolate heaven laws intertwined in his bloodline, he began to comprehend them. An hour later, he was able to control them in his hands. After that, he began to deduce them and cultivated them to the large success stage. This was a potential he now had after unsealing the 6th layer of Soul Root. Even if it was an obscure and powerful 7th dimension law, as long as he saw it, he could control it in the blink of an eye. He was naturally a little shocked by the desolate heaven law he had mastered because it was really powerful. Once such a law was used, it could almost instantly deprive all living things of their vitality. It was similar to the eternal divine path of life and death, but the power it possessed was far from what life and death could compare to. With this in mind, he did not pay too much attention to it. while watching little Mu Chun seriously comprehending the desolate heaven law in the valley and guarding him. He also took the initiative to circulate the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, drawing in rich spiritual power and Tao power. It madly surged into his body and was refined by the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. His entire spirit, chi, and spirit rose with each strand. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, a full month had passed. He cultivated while guarding little Mu Chun. The dark gray saint light around the little guy's body began to stabilize, circling around him like a water spirit. I can barely control it. Chapter 24-29. A 6-year-old child had now grasped the desolate heaven laws. Although it was a little forced, it was still extremely terrifying. After all, he was only 6 years old. Under normal circumstances, a 6-year-old child could not even embark on the path of cultivation, let alone grasp a powerful 7-dimensional law like the desolate heaven laws. This made Lin Tian somewhat moved by the desolate heaven bloodline. Although the little guy was able to grasp the desolate heaven laws in a short period of time, a large part of the reason was because of his guidance. It was still very shocking. Outside little Mukin's body, dark gray light intertwined as the desolate heaven laws jumped. After a while, they gradually disappeared into his body. Following that, the light outside his body also dissipated. "Thank you, Master." The little guy came in front of Lin Tian and knelt down again, kowtowing to Lin Tian. His forehead touched the ground every time. Although he was only 6 years old, the little guy knew a lot of things. Lin Tian taught him cultivation, so he was naturally his master. Lin Tian was taken aback before nodding. He lifted little Mukin up with a gentle holy light and wiped the dust off his forehead. "You are my 3rd disciple. You have a senior brother and a senior sister. I will introduce you to them in the future." He smiled at the little guy. It could be said that the little guy was the most similar to him in the past. He had originally planned to take him in as a disciple. Little Mukin nodded seriously. Okay, continue cultivating. I will protect you." Lin Tian rubbed the little guy's head and said, "Although it's not good to raise your cultivation realm too much in one go, and it will cause your foundation to be unstable. Your desolate heaven bloodline has already awakened, and you can barely control the desolate heaven laws. It has already made your physique very strong. Cultivating to the great Tao level in one go will not have any impact on your foundation. In the 4-dimensional world, even ordinary creatures in the void realm could easily cultivate to the great Tao realm. It was like drinking water because the psionic energy in the air was very rich. And now, little Mukin was in the 7th-dimensional world. The psionic energy in the air was at least 1,000,000 times that of the 4-dimensional world. In addition, little Mukin had the desolate heaven bloodline and could control the desolate heaven laws. With all these conditions added together, it was very easy for the little guy to cultivate to the great Tao realm. According to his estimates, the little guy could reach the great Tao realm from the tempered body realm in a month at most. "Yes, Master." Little Mu Chun was very obedient. After a pause, he looked up at Lin Tian and asked, "Master, was that the desolate heaven laws from before?" Previously, he had seen dark gray beams of light intertwining around Lin Tian's body. They were intertwined with the aura of the desolate heaven laws. Lin Tian smiled and raised his right hand slightly. A dark gray light intertwined and condensed into a dark gray ball of light. Rich waves of desolate heaven laws intertwined with each other. "I have gained some insight into the desolate heaven laws manifested by your bloodline. Now I have reached the large success stage in controlling them," he said. With that said, he flicked his finger as a faint beam of light entered little Mu Chen's consciousness. It was his perception of the desolate heaven laws. The essence of cultivating such laws was definitely useful to little Mu Chen. "Thank you, Master." Little Mu Chen's eyes could not help but fluctuate violently. "Master, you are so powerful." Even though he was still very young, he knew how difficult it was for people without the desolate heaven bloodline to control the desolate heaven bloodline. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. However, his master had simply looked at the aura of the desolate heaven laws intertwined in his bloodline and was able to control the laws of the seventh dimension. Now, he had reached the large success stage and was teaching him how to better understand the desolate heaven laws. This made it difficult for little Mu-chan to calm down. Lin Tian rubbed the little guy's head again and said, "Go and cultivate. I will stand guard here for you." "Okay." Little Mu-chan nodded and walked to the side to cultivate. His eyes were even more determined. Occasionally, hatred would intertwine in his eyes. He wanted to work hard to become stronger with his master. He wanted to avenge his dead clansman and Grandpa Zhou, who had always been by his side. Lin Tian sat cross-legged on a large rock by the side. As he stood guard for little Mu-chan, he also cultivated seriously. In a blink of an eye, half a day passed. Dong! Half a day later, on this day, a pitch-black lightning vortex appeared in the sky, rumbling and rumbling. Lin Tian looked up at the lightning vortex and then looked at little Mu-chan. Divine Pulse Realm Lightning Punishment. Looking at little Mu-chan, he whispered, "This should be the first person to experience the heavenly tribulation lightning punishment when he broke through from the body refinement realm to the divine pulse realm." Under his guidance, little Mu-chan had already mastered the desolate heaven laws. Now, he had broken through from the body refinement realm to the divine pulse realm. He had crossed a major realm and attracted the heavenly tribulation lightning punishment. Dong! The sky exploded and thunder rumbled. It was deafening. However, the aura was very weak. After all, it was only the divine pulse realm lightning punishment. Use the lightning punishment to temper your body. Let it strike you and use its lightning power to cultivate, he said to little Mu-chan. After little Mu-chan had awakened his desolate heaven bloodline, his physical body was now comparable to a great virtue realm expert. Under such heavenly punishment, there would not be any problems even if he was struck by heavenly lightning. There was no need to worry at all. During this process, the benefits of using the lightning power of heaven and earth to cultivate were great. Yes, master. Although little Mu-chan was only 6 years old, he was not afraid of this lightning punishment at all. His eyes were filled with determination. According to Lin Tian's words, his small body allowed the lightning to strike him and drown him. Then, he used the lightning power to cultivate. Lin Tian watched from the side and nodded secretly. He circulated the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and drew in more Saint Spirit Chi for cultivation. Boom! Thunder rumbled and kept striking. Soon, it dissipated and 7-colored auspicious clouds condensed. The gift after the heavenly tribulation is the pure power of heaven and earth. Use it to stabilize your divine pulse realm cultivation. Use it to cultivate, Lin Tian said, and imparted the knowledge of the heavenly tribulation to the little guy. Yes, master. Little Mu-chan obediently did as he was told. Time passed quickly. The little guy worked hard to cultivate. Every few days, there would be a lightning vortex in the valley, and he would experience the lightning punishment again and again. Then, 29 days passed. Just as Lin Tian had expected, little Mu-chan had survived another heavenly punishment, and his cultivation had reached the great virtue realm. That's all for now. On this day, Lin Tian stopped cultivating and stood up. He called out to little Mu-chan and walked out of the valley. Including teaching little Mu-chan cultivation, more than 2 months had passed. While he was guarding little Mu-chan, he was also cultivating. Now his cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th dimensional realm from the middle stage. He could step into the solitary space realm after the 6th dimensional realm at any time. Now, he was ready to find a more suitable place to undergo the heavenly tribulation. After all, his solitary space realm heavenly tribulation was not comparable to the heavenly tribulations that little Mu-chan had experienced before. Once he started to undergo the heavenly tribulation, the entire celestial mountain would suffer. There were many other creatures in the celestial mountain. Once he underwent the heavenly tribulation here, it would inevitably cause many of the creatures in the celestial mountain to suffer. Naturally, he had to find another place. Soon, he left the celestial mountain with little Mu-chan. Soon, he found a relatively empty bathing area. With his powerful divine sense, he scanned the area and found that there were no other creatures around. It was very suitable for him to undergo the heavenly tribulation. "Stay away from here," he said to little Mu Chun. It wasn't until little Mu Chun retreated far enough that he vibrated his aura and stepped into the solitary space realm. In an instant, the sky in this place turned pitch black, and a huge lightning vortex intertwined. Black lightning intertwined in it, like a destructive, angry dragon. A destructive aura came down, covering the sky and covering the earth. Soon, the first round of the heavenly tribulation came crashing down. This was a vast sea of lightning. It was completely condensed from lightning, as if it really existed. Lin Tian did not dodge, allowing the heavenly tribulation to strike his body. At the same time, he took out the samsara sword to undergo the heavenly tribulation. Boom! 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 Thunder rumbled, and the heavenly tribulation continued to fall. It was not until more than 3,000 rounds of the heavenly tribulation had fallen that the heavenly tribulation dissipated. Colorful clouds appeared, and the sky was filled with colorful rays of light. Lin Tian used it to consolidate his solitary space realm cultivation. At the same time, he reconstructed the samsara sword that had been shattered by the heavenly tribulation. There were more heavenly lightning runes on it, intertwining with an extremely strong aura. He put the samsara sword back into his body, and the colorful clouds in the sky quickly dispersed, disappearing without a trace. This place, this vast swamp area, had been charred black by the solitary void realm's heavenly punishment. There was not a single piece of land that was intact. He sensed his body. He had unsealed 6 levels of his soul root, stepped into the solitary void realm, and mastered the desolate heaven's laws. Now he could kill a solitary god-level expert just by relying on his own strength. At the same time, the three-dimensional world in his body was like his divine origin weapon. After his cultivation increased by a large realm, it also became stronger. If the power of this three-dimensional world was included, with his current cultivation, he could even kill a powerhouse at the end of the Silent Soul realm. Under the 7th dimension, he could be invincible. Can I imprint the dimensional laws into the three-dimensional world like time? Can I make it undergo another qualitative change? He suddenly came up with such an idea. Then he felt that he could give it a try. If he succeeded, it would definitely be an amazing thing. After a pause, he glanced around and did not stay for too long. He took a step forward and approached little Mukin, who was waiting for him in the distance. "Let's go," he said to little Mukin, and pulled the little guy into the distance. It didn't take long for them to walk out of the heavenly tribulation. "Master, where are we going now?" little Mukin asked. Lin Tiandao replied, "Let's find a hidden place. Master is going to do some." Boom! Suddenly, a tyrannical fluctuation of saint energy emerged. In the northeast direction, a dozen figures appeared and rushed towards him. At the same time, almost at the same time, a dozen figures appeared in 6 other directions. Each of them was surrounded by an extremely amazing aura. All of them were powerful existences at the end of the silent god realm. In the blink of an eye, 7 figures appeared in 7 different directions. Found it! Chapter 2430. There were more than 10 people coming from 7 different directions. In the blink of an eye, they had surrounded Lin Tian and Mu Chun. Little Mu Chun looked at these people with deep hatred in his eyes. 7 directions. The people who were rushing over belonged to the Blood Devil Hall, the Great Moon Family, the Sealed Ghost City, the Evil Fury Palace, the Green Divine Immortal School, the 10,000 Slaughter Divine Pavilion, and the Purple Rainbow Dao Palace. These were the 7 great powers that had annihilated his family and killed Old Man Zhou, who had always accompanied and taken care of him. Lin Tian looked at little Mu Chun beside him and swept a glance at the approaching people. "Take him down." A cold voice sounded immediately. The people from the 7 major factions were on guard against the people from the other major factions. At the same time, they attacked at the same time. Murderous lights filled the sky and pressed down on Lin Tian. A few days ago, the 7 major factions have been searching for Lin Tian's traces. Not long ago, Lin Tian had gone out to undergo a tribulation. Someone had seen his figure. Naturally, the people from the 7 major factions had tracked him down and killed their way here. Rumble. These people were all at the peak of the Lone God realm. When they attacked together, the power was terrifying and extremely tyrannical. The violent killing force swept straight towards Lin Tian. At the same time, someone grabbed at little Mu Chun who was beside Lin Tian. In the end, they were mainly here for the desolate heaven bloodline. Facing these people's attacks, Lin Tian's expression did not change. The dark gray sacred light interweaved around his body and directly annihilated the large amount of sacred light that surged towards him. Then, the dark gray sacred light drowned the person at the front. Ah! The person screamed and struggled in horror. The sacred light around his body was violent as he tried to break free from the dark gray sacred light. However, it was useless. The dark gray sacred light merged into his body, causing his body to dry up at an extremely fast speed. Then, in the blink of an eye, his body completely weathered and turned into a dried corpse. Then, with a whoosh, it shattered into dust and dissipated into the sky. This is desolate heaven laws? In an instant, the expressions of everyone in this place changed. Their faces all became filled with shock. Lin Tian had mastered the desolate heaven laws. You've already taken his bloodline? An expert from Sealed Ghost City was furious. Controlling the desolate heaven laws was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. This person immediately believed that Lin Tian must have snatched little Mu Chin's desolate heaven bloodline to control the laws of the 7th dimension. As for why little Mu Chun, whose bloodline had been taken away, was still alive, he did not care. All he cared about was the desolate heaven bloodline. Once such a bloodline was taken away and given to another person, it would be useless for others to take it away again. They had been constantly pursuing the desolate heaven bloodline, but now it had been snatched away by someone else. You are not allowed to insult my master. Before Lin Tian could speak, little Mu Chin spoke up. He stared at these people with anger and hatred, clenching his fists. Master is different from you. Master relied on himself to control it. The people in front of him were his enemies, and now they were slandering his master. The little guy was extremely angry. His desolate heaven bloodline boiled as the dark gray desolate heaven laws intertwined with his anger, causing the void to vibrate constantly. Such a scene caused the expressions of the people from the 7 factions to change drastically as they trembled violently. Following little Mu Chen's anger, they realized that the 6-year-old little Mu Chun had already mastered the desolate heaven laws. His desolate heaven bloodline still existed and had not been taken away. As such, Lin Tian had truly relied on himself to control the 7th dimension laws of the desolate heaven. To be able to control the 7th dimension laws, there were only a handful of people in the history of the 7 dimensions. A person who could control the 7th dimension laws was enough to shake the entire 7 dimensions. Instantly, these people's faces could not help but turn pale. But very quickly, these people's expressions turned even colder. We have more people, and our cultivation levels are far higher than his. Even if he has mastered the 7th dimension laws and has a sacred sword that is suspected to be a silent soul-grade artifact, he won't be able to do anything to us if we attack together. One of them said, "Let's cooperate and use all our strength to suppress and kill him. After that, we will fight for his sacred sword and desolate heaven bloodline. How about it?" "Sure." The others nodded in succession. This was the best solution at the moment. Immediately, the group attacked Lin Tian again. However, this time, the group began to consciously cooperate. As such, the group's attacks were clearly much stronger than before. The space in all directions was completely sealed. This attack was somewhat fierce and extremely terrifying. However, Lin Tian's expression did not change in the slightest. The large success staged Desolate Heaven laws surged as the Samsara tempering mind technique was activated, stacking 20 times his combat strength. At the same time, the indestructible laws were activated as well, increasing the power of the desolate heaven laws. A desolate great world immediately appeared. This was the manifestation of the large success stage of the desolate heaven laws. Under his will, the desolate great world came crashing down. He had unsealed his sixth layer soul root. Now he was using all his strength. Chi, chi, chi. Soft sounds rang out. In the blink of an eye, the attacks of nearly 100 experts were annihilated. At the same time, the desolate great world formed by the desolate heaven laws came crashing down, directly enveloping 3 of them. The 3 were horrified. They immediately struggled violently, trying to escape from the desolate great world. However, it was useless. They could not break free at all. Their life auras were drained at an extremely fast speed, and their bodies withered in the blink of an eye. No! Mournful and despairing screams rang out. In the blink of an eye, the life auras of the 3 people enveloped in the desolate great world were completely drained, and their souls were shattered along with them. For a moment, the others were horrified. Some time ago, it was said that Lin Tian's cultivation was only at the 6th dimensional level, but a few months later, he had reached the Silent Void realm and had mastered the desolate heaven laws. At this time, without using the suspected Silent Soul Grade artifact, he had killed several experts at the end of the Silent God realm. What kind of combat strength was this? After this, if Lin Tian used the suspected Silent Soul Grade artifact, how powerful would it be? In an instant, a sense of horror rose in the hearts of these people. They retreated at the same time, fleeing into the distance. They were not ordinary people. After a short confrontation, they naturally understood the difference in combat strength between them and Lin Tian. Originally, when they came here, they were told that Lin Tian was only at the 6th dimensional realm and that he had a holy sword that was suspected to be a Silent Soul artifact. With their cultivation at the end of the Silent God realm, they would definitely be able to suppress such a battle prowess. However, when they arrived here, they realized that this information was wrong. Lin Tian had reached the Silent Void realm and had mastered the legendary 7th dimensional desolate heaven laws. In the blink of an eye, he had killed several of them. The difference in combat strength was too great and completely different from what they had estimated. In an instant, nearly 100 people fled far away in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian watched these people flee without any change in his expression. The desolate heaven laws turned into a storm and pressed down. At the same time, the 3-dimensional world in his body trembled, and the 3-dimensional world's power quickly condensed into a sword of heaven and earth. Clang! Following the desolate heaven laws, he waved the sword of heaven and earth in his hand and slashed out 9 times in a row. Every slash of these 9 slashes was accompanied by a sky full of sword blades. With the desolate heaven laws sealing off the escape route of the group, the slashes enveloped the people from the 7 major factions in the blink of an eye. Ah! Screams were heard immediately, and blood mist exploded one after another. Nearly 100 experts were destroyed in the blink of an eye. This place became much quieter in an instant. Little Muchin looked at this scene and was not afraid. Instead, he clenched his fists. These were all his enemies. Let's go. Lin Tian put away the sword of heaven and earth and said to the little guy, Master, when can I be as strong as you? The little guy asked him. Lin Tian was stunned, and then he smiled. Believe in Master, it won't be long. Including the 3-dimensional world, his current peak combat strength was invincible under the 7th dimensional realm. With little Mu Chen's desolate heaven bloodline, it would take him at most 500 years in the 7th dimensional realm to reach his current height with some heavenly treasures. 500 years was a long time for ordinary people, but for cultivators, it was really nothing. He did not stay there and left with little Mu Chen. Half a month later, he found a place with rich saint spirit chi and was relatively hidden. You can continue to cultivate, he said to little Mu Chen, took out some extraordinary heavenly treasures and rare baodan from his body, and handed them to little Mu Chen. With little Mu Chen's physique and his current realm, half a month's time was enough for him to settle down and adjust. Thank you, Master. Little Mu Chen took some heavenly treasures and rare bowed-in that Lin Tian handed to him. His eyes were very firm, and he silently walked to the side and began to cultivate. Lin Tian sat on the side, guarding the little guy while using part of his divine sense to invade his body. He came to the three-dimensional world in his body and condensed a divine sense incarnation. After a few years of transformation, every corner of the three-dimensional world now had fluctuations of time, and the spirit chi intertwined in the air was thicker than before. He stood in this world as a manifestation of his consciousness. The great mastery of the laws of destiny began to interweave from his body, branding towards this three-dimensional world. He hoped to brand it into this world as completely as he had done before. Buzz! The precept of destiny pulsed and circled around him, swaying in all directions, and then merged into nothingness. This caused a deep light to appear in his eyes. From this point, it could be seen that the precept of destiny could indeed integrate into this world like the precept of time. At that moment, he activated the precept of destiny and branded the precept of destiny Dao marks in this three-dimensional world. Then, the huge three-dimensional world immediately trembled, and wisps of destiny aura began to intertwine in all directions. Very good. The light in his eyes became even brighter. The precept of destiny's origin Dao marks had perfectly integrated into this world. After that, the fluctuations of destiny would quickly intertwine in every corner of this world, so that this world would have the power of destiny. At that time, this world would definitely undergo a qualitative change, and his power would become even stronger as a result. Eternity, immortality, star creation, Tao-defying, dark light, barren heaven, that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.